Vol 2, Chapter 1325, Semula's Star Wars 5. In the midst of a fierce battle, a squadron of V-19 fighter jets streaked across the sky, unleashing a relentless barrage of bombs. Despite their efforts, they were unable to halt the relentless advance of the robots and semiers on the ground. From a distance, Cato peered through his telescope, his view so clear he could make out the desperate expressions on the faces of the Republic soldiers. It wasn't long before their position was compromised. 3 new tanks from the Separatists, resembling scorpions with their small, rearward turrets, and 4 sets of tracks, charged towards them. The Republic's AE Walker's radars were out of commission, but the Separatists were fully operational. "We've been spotted. Prepare for combat," Cato shouted, urging his comrades to ready their bazookas against the 3 approaching tanks. Before he could finish, an explosion rocked the ground beside them, signaling the tanks had opened fire. Peter Anderson and the others quickly sought cover, dashing towards the ruins of nearby buildings. The tanks relentlessly bombarded their positions with high-explosive shells, their engines roaring as they crested a hill, only to be met with return fire from a Republic ATTE Walker. The impact of the explosion was so powerful, it lifted one of the Scorpion tanks off the ground slightly, dislodging a track and leaving it immobilized. The ATTE commander's voice crackled through the comm, filled with defiance. "Come on, you bastards! Let's see what you've got!" Spotting the turret of the disabled Scorpion tank still operational, Peter Anderson seized the moment. He sprinted forward, lobbing a grenade in a desperate attempt to disable it. The explosion was insufficient to damage the tank significantly, but it seemed to confuse the gunner, causing the next shot to go awry. In that moment of distraction, Cato tackled Anderson to the ground just as 2 anti-tank rockets soared overhead, striking the Scorpion tank with a deafening blast. Sand and debris pelted Anderson, the heat searing his back. But when he looked up, the tank was ablaze, yet not destroyed. The hatch burst open, and 2 B-1 combat robots emerged, futilely wielding fire extinguishers, only to be swiftly cut down by Anderson's gunfire. Meanwhile, the ATE Walker, affectionately known as Xiao Duding, found itself outmaneuvered by the remaining Scorpion tanks. The Walker's 6 mechanical legs and limited turret rotation made it a sitting duck against the nimble tanks. Its heavy howitzer, designed for long-range support, was useless in close combat, highlighting a critical vulnerability when facing fast, armored adversaries without infantry support. The Scorpion tanks wasted no time exploiting this weakness, their main guns piercing the Walker's side armor with ease. In a catastrophic explosion, Xiao Duding was reduced to scrap metal, a grim testament to the Walker's limitations in armored combat. As the Scorpion tanks swiveled their turrets towards Anderson and his companions, panic took hold. "Run!" Anderson screamed, the fear palpable in his voice. Facing the overwhelming might of the 66-ton tanks, retreat was their only option. Iron projectiles hurtled through the air at a speed of 70 kilometers per hour. A day later, light rain began to fall on the city of Menka, quenching the once raging flames of war. A hand, soft and gentle, reached out to catch some of the rainwater, observing the black impurities mixed within. The smoke from the battlefield had carried soot into the sky, only for it to be washed back to Earth by the rain, a poignant irony of nature's cycle. 2 days, 120,000 people lost, remarked a clone commander, his voice heavy with the weight of the casualties. He wore a blue helmet, a sign of his rank and responsibilities. Standing before him was a figure with thick, steel needle-like hair and a pronounced jaw, giving him a werewolf-like appearance. Yet he was clad in the uniform of a Jedi warrior, standing tall and imposing. This was Wilf Munn, the Jedi Master of the T-Herd Squadron of the Fourth Army. "Blood debt demands a blood payment," Meng En stated succinctly, his tone chilling with the undercurrent of lethal intent. Munn, sensing the gravity of the situation, moved to another part of the battlefield. There, he found the wreckage of an ATE Walker, and not far from it, the remains of a Scorpion tank. These vehicles had strayed from the main battlefield, landing as an isolated force and ultimately being decimated by the Separatists. He crouched down beside a corpse half buried in the rubble of a destroyed building. With a casual motion, he retrieved a soldier's badge from around the neck of the deceased. Inspecting it, he read, "Private Peter Anderson." Mun pocketed the badge and stood, continuing his somber journey. "You've collected hundreds of these soldier badges along the way, General," the clone commander observed. "Pain strengthens me," Meng En replied, turning to face the commander. "Only through strength can we achieve victory." "You don't sound much like a Jedi, but I like it," the clone commander admitted with a shrug. Just then, Mun's communicator buzzed. He pressed the button, and the holographic projection of Lieutenant General Alfonso, the commander of the 3rd Squadron, appeared. "General Mun, my fleet has been forced to retreat. The Separatists' Behemoth-class ships pose too great a threat. We've already lost 2 Jaeger-class ships, and 2 others have sustained severe damage. We may not be able to provide support for the next few days." "Leave this area to me," Meng En responded confidently, ending the communication. "General Mun, although we managed to use orbital bombing to temporarily halt the Separatists' counterattack, our fleet's retreat puts us at a disadvantage. Furthermore, our clone legion is too small to make a decisive impact." The clone commander expressed his concerns. 120,000 people have fallen in just 2 days, and the ranks of the 243rd, 244th, and 245th legions of natural humans have been nearly decimated, another clone commander added, highlighting the dire state of their forces' morale. A cruel smile played at the corner of Meng En's mouth. "Victory is still within our grasp," he declared with a cold determination. Vol 2, Chapter 1326, Critical Situation. With a thud, a man dressed in civilian attire was unceremoniously placed on what used to be a bed but now served as an iron shelf. The hermit and Jango Fett stood beside the makeshift bed, observing the man with furrowed brows. This individual, a civilian covertly abducted from Sundari City, had been employed at a spaceship repair factory. He was still clad in his durable overalls and heat-resistant gloves. Surprisingly, the man was not unconscious. He was fully awake, yet his gaze was vacant. Despite the discomfort of the iron frame, he showed no intention of moving. "Let's recap our situation," the hermit began. "Firstly, our disguises. You donned armor resembling that of a death guard to enter the city. Remarkably, all the residents acted as if you were invisible. Secondly, my experience was similar. No one acknowledged my presence. However, the moment we stepped outside the city and I brandished a pistol, people immediately took notice, and the Death Guard were upon us swiftly. It's evident that they're aware of our actions to some extent." "So, are we looking at city-wide brainwashing?" Jango Fett inquired, skepticism in his tone. "It appears so, but it's not particularly sophisticated," the hermit explained. "Upon re-entering the city, I visited the same bar as before. Despite the presence of death guards, I went unnoticed. Moreover, the patrons' behavior, from their seating choices to their drink orders, was identical to my previous visit." "You're suggesting that the residents of Sundarli City are reliving the same day repeatedly?" Jango Fett deduced. "Exactly. And as you mentioned, this points to a citywide brainwashing, albeit a rudimentary form. Take this individual, for instance." The hermit propped the civilian up to a sitting position, handling him with ease as if the man's lack of resistance was expected. "We've removed him from his routine, and he's completely lost. Minor deviations they can manage on their own, like righting a fallen object. But once removed to an unfamiliar environment like this desolate area in Cordabi City, they're at a loss." "Could this be the work of brainwave interference?" Jango Fett speculated, "or perhaps the original force. However, if that's the case, we must tread carefully. Engaging with the original force would immediately alert whoever is orchestrating this," the hermit cautioned. "It's implausible for an entire city to be brainwashed without anyone noticing. Even if Sundari City is isolated from Cordabi City, it must have connections with other cities. Yet we've seen no intercity ships," Jango Fett observed. "My theory," the hermit continued, his voice tinged with unease, "is that Grand Duke Kriz Satine, the ruler of Sundar, might be under control. She alone has the power to isolate Sundari City. The fact that this situation hasn't caused a wider impact suggests the blockade is recent." "What's our next move?" Jango Fett asked. "This is a massive undertaking for just the two of us." "Can you infiltrate the Death Guard?" the hermit proposed. "The Death Guard's armor contains unique identification codes, making each set distinct. Communication between members relies on these codes for system verification. Jango Fett explained. I can infiltrate their ranks, provided I avoid the higher-ups. I have several identification codes that can be input into the armor's electronic system, which I prepared earlier. I'll just need to modify the armor's appearance. But what's your plan? I intend to infiltrate the palace of Sandari and locate Grand Duke Satine, the hermit revealed. Given Duke Satine's status, it's unlikely she's subjected to the same rudimentary brainwashing as the city's residents. The hermit was convinced that Satine was under the control of the Death Guard, a certainty that made their mission clear: to rescue her and thwart the Death Guard's sinister plans. You're aware of this, and so is the Death Guard. It's likely that Satine is heavily guarded, Jango Fett pointed out, his voice muffled by his helmet. That's precisely why I need your help. We'll need to coordinate our efforts both inside and outside their stronghold, the hermit responded, outlining the necessity of their partnership. Jango Fett, ever the pragmatist, questioned, if the stakes are this high, why not seek additional help? The hermit shared his concerns. My intuition suggests this isn't an isolated incident. The Galactic Republic's recent large-scale assault on Semiles, coupled with a significant battle erupting there, is bound to have repercussions for Mandalore. What worries me more is that the Republic fleet's plans were leaked just before their raid, allowing Semiles to prepare, albeit minimally. So, you're suggesting that the leak was designed to escalate the conflict on Semiles, drawing attention away from Mandalore, Jango Fett surmised, stroking his chin thoughtfully. Exactly. The governor believes Darth Maul might be behind this, but I'm not convinced it's his style. Despite his cunning, Maul tends to rely on brute force. Brainwashing an entire city doesn't seem like his method. He's more likely to annihilate it, the hermit explained. Have you informed Tang Xiao of your suspicions? Jango Fett inquired. Such uncertain intuitions could cloud his judgment. For now, it's just us, and our priority is to rescue Satine, the hermit decided. After a moment of contemplation, Jango Fett proposed, here's the plan. I'll infiltrate the Death Guard, and you'll make your way into the Sundari Palace. Working together from the inside and outside, we'll find a way to succeed. This is our plan, the hermit confirmed, setting their mission into motion. Meanwhile, in the outer orbit of Semiles, aboard the Confederation of Independent Galaxy Fleet's flagship, the God-class destroyer Invincible, the situation was dire. The Galactic Republic has initiated a full-scale offensive along the eastern border, targeting planets such as Velasco, Rusin, Salukami, Adahox, and Il, reported a T-Series tactical robot in a monotone voice. Our time is running out. The defeat of the eastern region seems inevitable, Admiral Trench lamented, his voice tinged with frustration as he slapped his hand with a pointer. At this rate, we're likely to lose nearly all of the central region sector as well. So, the gains from General Grievous's offensive a year and a half ago, and our victories in the central battle last year, could be wiped out in a matter of weeks. Uru Ulex asked, concern evident in his voice. The Republic has already commenced orbital bombardments on Sev Tuk and attempted the same on Semiles. If our fleet hadn't arrived in time, Semiles would have suffered the same fate, Asajj Ventress added grimly. Their soldiers can't match our droid legions, so they resort to orbital bombardments to gain an upper hand. These despicable Jedi Knights. The only safe haven now is the capital area, shielded by the Argonev-class interstellar base, Ulu Ulix noted, highlighting the gravity of their situation. But our fleet's inability to replenish its resources means we can't sustain resistance against the Republic's bombardments indefinitely. He then pointed out the Republic's strategy of landing troops on the outskirts of the NCR from 3 directions, aiming for a direct assault on their capital. The cities of Menka, New Daran, and Tortok were marked as critical points of defense, underscoring the urgency of their predicament. The cities of New Daran, Tortok, and Menka form a strategic triangle around the capital region of the planet Semers. My armored division has successfully repelled the Republic's offensive near Menka City, inflicting heavy losses on them. More than half of their forces have been decimated. Menka City is no longer under threat, declared a slightly overweight middle-aged general. He was participating in the meeting via remote communication. This was Lieutenant General Dai Hongkui of the Star Lieutenant Army, known as the Tank General. New Daran City and Tortuk City lack the expansive plains that surround Menka City. Fatty, do you believe your Scorpion tank division can achieve a similar victory there? Asajji Ventress asked, her tone icy as she glanced at Dai Hong Kui. Admiral Trench interjected with a series of clicks. The Republic's forces are spreading their army in 3 directions, and their fleet continues to dispatch forces to harass other parts of the planet. They're clearly trying to force us into a decisive fleet battle. A fleet decisive battle is out of the question. Our primary advantage lies in utilizing the firepower of our 5 Behemoth-class battlecruisers to inflict maximum damage on the Republic fleet in the shortest time possible, then quickly withdrawing to the safety of the Argonev-class interstellar base, Ulu Ulex explained. However, if we're drawn into a prolonged fleet engagement, the Republic's superior number of fighter formations will become a significant threat. Admiral Trench, stroking the chelicera at the corner of his mouth, said, "Our only chance for victory is to thwart the Republic's orbital bombardment while my fleet can still hold them off. General Dai Hong Kui, do you have any recommendations?" Dai Hong Kui responded with gravity. The transportation of our troops across Semers has been severely hampered by the Republic's fighter jets, resulting in substantial losses. Given that our fleet can't protect every sector of the planet and our finite troop numbers, we currently have 400,000 troops available near Menka City, 700,000 near New Daran City, and 550,000 near Tortuk City. Additionally, there are 1.3 million troops stationed in the capital region. He continued, marking positions on the map. The Republic has landed forces in 3 locations, totaling over 200,000, possibly even surpassing 300,000. With air supremacy now in the hands of the Republic and all our satellites destroyed, our situation is dire. Excluding the forces necessary to defend the capital region, we have roughly a 2-to-1 advantage in troop numbers. After reviewing the map once more, Dai Hong Kui shook his head. Given the Republic commander's capabilities, the outcome of this battle is far from certain. My advice is to consolidate our defenses, bolster our air defense capabilities, and await the Republic's next move. Humph, Ulu Ulex snorted dismissively. With more than twice the number of troops and ample supplies, you still hesitate? Our fleet and fighter numbers may not match the Republic's, but with our ground forces' superiority, our objective should be to drive them out of space entirely. You've done well in Menka City, General Dai, but now we must aim for total expulsion. You have no understanding of how to command a battle. Don't you see that the Republic's strategic options are far broader than ours? They have air superiority and the threat of orbital bombardment, which you seem to underestimate. Do you have any idea how many of our troops were lost when our heavy turbolaser batteries were destroyed yesterday? Lieutenant General Dai Hong Kui retorted, his temper flaring at Ulu Ulex's criticism. When my lightsaber strikes, you'll understand what true combat is, Ulu Ulex replied, his expression darkening as he faced Dai Hong Kui. Now, the latest Scorpio tank has been entrusted to you, the elite of the Semier's Armored Legion. And yet, what do you consider defense? You are bringing shame upon the governor. Let's not lose our patience, everyone. We must acknowledge the unprecedented destruction our planet is facing. The planetary shield has been obliterated, and the Republic's warships are patrolling our orbit. Even without direct orbital strikes, their fighter jets are relentlessly launching bombing raids. Our own air defenses are nearly depleted. Thunbak Tula, participating in the meeting via remote communication, attempted to mediate the escalating argument. As a council member of Planet Semilus, her current responsibility included coordinating among the military leaders and safeguarding the interests of Planet Semilus. Thumbak Tula presented a detailed report of the losses, emphasizing, "He can't sustain this any longer." Just yesterday, the Republic deployed 200 fighters, executing countless sorties to bomb our planet. Admiral Trench stroked his chelicerae thoughtfully. Although primarily an admiral, he was acutely aware that despite having a formidable armored force and the Semilus Armored Corps at their disposal, the loss of air superiority severely compromised their position. Facing the relentless bombing campaigns of the Republic, a direct assault would indeed result in significant casualties. It was true that Dai Hongkui had demonstrated exceptional command, inflicting severe losses on the Republican army in Menka City. The current state of affairs was a stalemate, with both the Republic and Planet Semils enduring substantial damage. Observing the endless debate between Ulu Ulix and Dai Hongkui, Trench was lost in contemplation. Please note, a new address for this content has been activated. Be sure to update your bookmarks. Enjoy uninterrupted reading. Remember, this is the original domain for this book. Chapter 1327, Semiless Star Wars. Admiral Trench, with a thoughtful expression, stroked the chelicerae at the corner of his mouth with one hand while tapping the table with the other. General Asajj Ventress, General Ulu Ulex, he began, his voice carrying a hint of admiration for the convenience of his 6 hands. You will each lead a separate counterattack on Shindalan City and Tortok City, respectively. Turning his attention to Lieutenant General Dai Hongkui, he continued, Lieutenant General Dai Hongkui, you will command the armored group and provide maneuver support. How many fighters do we have at our disposal? Thunbach Tula responded, the Semirs are not adept at piloting fighter jets. However, if we gather all available jets, we should have more than 2,000, all of which are Vulture droid fighters. Admiral Trench nodded, his voice confident. I will ensure we achieve air superiority in this battle, including full cooperation from our entire fleet. Asajj Ventress replied coldly, Are you suggesting I don't know how to conduct my operations? I am merely focusing all our strengths for Count Dooku and Governor Tang Xiao, Trench explained calmly. The battle intensified as a squadron of Y-wing bombers swooped low, releasing heavy bombs that exploded into massive fireballs. The ground below was engulfed in flames, with Semir's soldiers screaming in agony. Meanwhile, B-1 battle droids advanced, firing their E-5 blaster rifles indiscriminately. The OG-9 homing spider droid, with its towering spherical body, moved slowly forward, its disc-shaped laser launchers firing powerful green beams at the Republic Army's positions. The battlefield was chaotic, with high-explosive shells raining down incessantly. In the distance, the Republic's ATE walkers and AV-7 anti-vehicle cannons formed a formidable artillery line, bombarding the enemy with relentless firepower. Above, Vulture droid fighters clashed with V-19 Torrent starfighters in a fierce dogfight. Laser cannons and blaster fire crisscrossed the sky, with the wreckage of downed fighters plummeting to the ground like meteor showers. Despite the Semir's inability to pilot giant mechs or operate Wolverine anti-aircraft vehicles, they had acquired advanced technology from Dawn Planet. This allowed them to produce a significant number of Hellfire long-range anti-aircraft missiles and Argent V multifunctional anti-aircraft missiles. Fixed anti-aircraft missile positions provided crucial support, shooting down enemy aircraft with precision. Suddenly, a turbo laser cannon from a distant Cheerer-class assault landing ship cut through the sky, obliterating one of the anti-aircraft missile positions in a massive explosion that formed a mushroom cloud. In space, the battle raged on. A Heegler-class battlecruiser, having just attacked a Cheerer-class ship entering the atmosphere, found itself under heavy fire from a Jaeger-class cruiser. Its shields faltered under the onslaught. Then, a swarm of V-19 fighters, along with ARC-170 heavy fighters and Y-wing bombers, launched a barrage of proton torpedoes at close range. The Heegler-class ship was overwhelmed, its armor cracking and shattering under the force of the explosions. A catastrophic internal explosion ensued, and the crippled battleship, now powerless, was caught in the planet's gravity and began its descent towards the ground. As it fell, the battle for Semilez continued to rage, both in the skies and on the ground. Escape pods were launched from both sides of the battleship, but many people were left without a chance to escape. The intense heat generated by air friction incinerated everything in its vicinity. The battleship's massive, flat hull plunged into the ground like a sword, causing a catastrophic explosion upon impact. The resulting tremor, akin to a magnitude 5 earthquake, was felt for several kilometers, sending smoke and dust billowing into the air. A town was obliterated in an instant by the force of the crash. A B-2 super combat robot, its legs blown off, fell and rolled on the ground. Despite its damage, the double-barreled blaster machine guns on its arms continued to fire until it was crushed under the tracks of a rapidly advancing vehicle. Nearby, a Scorpio tank sped forward, its M512 90 caliber electric heat gun adjusting slightly before firing. The rare alloy armor-piercing projectile it launched penetrated an ATE walker several kilometers away, shredding the cockpit and its occupants with metal fragments. Scorpio tanks, one after another, advanced swiftly, breaching the battle lines of the Galactic Republic without hesitation. Behind this armored vanguard, hundreds of thousands of B-1 battle robots, B-2 super battle robots, and Semier's fighters launched a full-scale assault over a front more than 40 kilometers wide. Separatism has launched a full-scale attack on our positions in Tortok City and New Duran City, reported a staff officer aboard the Jaeger-class battlecruiser, serving as the command center. Admiral Davis, commander of the Fourth Army Fleet of the Galactic Republic, listened with a grave expression. Activating the communication system, he was joined by a holographic projection of two Jedi Masters. One was the venerable Master Paulin Schrader, and the other, his apprentice-turned-Jedi Master, was the werewolf Master Wilf Munn. The Separatists have indeed acted as we anticipated. They've grown impatient with our continuous strategic bombings. However, our positions are under immense pressure, Admiral Davis explained, sharing the holographic combat map with them. The map was awash with red dots representing Separatist forces, pressing forward and overwhelming the blue dots of the Republic. A breakthrough had been made in one area, extending over 10 kilometers deep. Above each of the two contested locations, a Cheerer-class assault landing ship hovered, acting as the command center for the ground forces. As the Republican Army was forced to retreat, these Cheerers became targets for Separatist air defense missiles. The potential loss of these command centers threatened to spell disaster for the ground troops. This is their final act of desperation, and our counterattack begins now, Master Radul declared with a steely resolve. Vol 2, Chapter 1328, Enshrouded in Mist. Gabriel Tosh awoke to find his psychic abilities seemingly nullified. As he sat up, his gaze swept across a room adorned in gold, where the instruments and equipment, though aesthetically pleasing with their golden hue, were rendered inoperative. Protoss. Despite the fog of amnesia clouding most of his memories before his arrival in this world, the notion of the Protoss was deeply ingrained in his heart, unforgettable. Rising to his feet, Tosh examined his reflection in a nearby energy field, resembling a sphere of water. He noticed not only the absence of his psychic powers, but also the return of his eyes to their normal state, devoid of the power they once held. Hypocrisy, conceited beings. Even stripped of my voodoo, I can still detect your foul stench. Tosh spat out with venom. Your psychic power wasn't severed by me, but by another, came a response. Not from a person, but a spherical drone that floated into the room, its speaker emitting an elegant and calm voice. Following the drone, a Protoss adorned in a magnificent robe and carrying an air of elegance entered, the leader of the Sirach tribe, Zakaras. Afraid to communicate directly in my mind? Despicable Protoss, Tosh retorted coldly. Currently, your mind and brainwaves are exceedingly fragile, akin to a bubble. Even a minor telepathic exchange like this could potentially leave you in a vegetative state, Zakaras explained, unfazed by Tosh's hostility. Tosh's expression turned grave as he looked down at his hands. Was it you who saved me, who brought me back? I'm relieved to see you've discarded that thorny exterior, Zakaras remarked. You were ensnared by darkness, by voodoo. In this universe, it's referred to as the Force, Zakaras corrected. I wasn't your savior. That's beyond my capabilities. The one who saved you was Sora Essir A. She was originally your backup for the operation, but she intervened before she could take her position. I'm unfamiliar with this individual, Tosh snorted dismissively. I wasn't informed of any backup before the mission. Her intervention, even if it saved me, was unnecessary. She hails from the Sarijal tribe, a member of the Narazi. In resonance with my tribe, she chose to awaken voluntarily, Zakaras disclosed. I had assumed it would take centuries for you Protoss to prove useful, Tosh remarked. In our quest to restore our homeland and race, no Protoss would hesitate. Some powerful entities chose not to awaken, each for their own reasons, Zakaras explained. Yet, even now, our awakened tribe numbers 400. The Protoss are being reborn. Only a Nerazim could rescue me, but don't expect gratitude, Tosh stated bluntly. We aided you not for personal reasons, but because we share a common objective for the moment, the Galactic Republic, Zakaras clarified. What transpired on planet Kona? We were misled by false intelligence. We were told that the Fourth Army of the Republic could directly assault planet Semiles in a week. However, their fleet was actually set to depart the next day. Deception! Tosh clenched his teeth in frustration. Yet, the Republic fleet's capability to raid planet Semiles was accurate. From what I understand, this information allowed planet Semiles a day to prepare for battle, preventing an unanticipated assault, Zakaras pointed out. This is precisely what baffles me. Tosh's expression darkened. The information was partially true, and yet the Ministry of Intelligence chose to believe it. Currently, planet Semiles is engulfed in fierce conflict, and reconciliation seems impossible. The Intelligence Department fears that the true purpose of this misinformation was to distract the Dawn Star and the Confederation of Star Systems, confining their focus to planet Semiles and leaving them no time to address other threats. Meanwhile, the Galactic Republic has initiated a series of offensives along the galaxy's eastern border, further supporting this theory, Zakaras explained. However, there's more at play here, suggesting a deeper intrigue behind these events. Gabriel Tosh expressed his skepticism. Dark voodoo. Very powerful. It's this force that's manipulating Sayus, the informant, making him relay information. The conspiracy lurking behind planet Semiles is steeped in darkness. I must inform Governor Tang Xiao, he continued. Governor Tang Xiao has recently traveled to planet Karl to oversee the integration of a new race. He's currently unavailable. Thus, I'll first relay this information to the Intelligence Department of Dawn Planet, and then endeavor to unravel this mystery, Zakaras explained. And how do you propose to solve this so-called mystery? Gabriel Tosh still harbored doubts about the Protoss's intentions. Zakaras raised his hand elegantly, drawing attention to an instrument beside him that slowly unfolded. Within the center of the psionic magnetic field, a substance resembling black mist appeared. This entity, no thicker than a pencil lead, moved as if sentient within the psionic magnetic field. Can you actually capture voodoo? Tosh asked, frowning. For the Force, it's akin to psionic energy. There's a significant overlap in the research of both fields. And when it comes to psionic energy, our Protoss research is unparalleled, Zakaras explained. Swish! 2 blood-red sword lights intersected in the air, leaving behind the afterimage of a cross star. A Galactic Republic ATXT biped walker was effortlessly sliced into pieces by these swords. Asajj Ventress, wielding a blood-red cranked lightsaber in each hand, charged into the formation of the Republican army with a ferocious smile, her presence akin to a wolf among sheep. Following her lead, a vast number of B-1 combat robots and semiers surged forward, launching a relentless assault on the Republic's defenses. The semiers, unlike the heavily armored Legion, wore only basic combat armor. This provided minimal protection against blaster rifles, but was somewhat effective against shrapnel and melee attacks. They lacked remote-controlled weapon stations, armed instead with powerful blaster machine guns. Despite their basic equipment, fighting on their home planet imbued the semiers with high morale. Unfazed by the prospect of sacrifice, they continued their onslaught with unwavering determination. Please remember to visit the official site for more chapters. Volume 2, Chapter 1329, Semiles Star Wars 7. The battlefield was engulfed in chaos as heavy artillery shells rained down from the Galactic Republic's front lines, each explosion wreaking havoc over an area exceeding 100 meters. The ATTE walkers and AV-7 self-propelled artillery units were relentless, firing their munitions with abandon. The sky above was no less tumultuous, with Republic fighter jets swooping at low altitudes, their blaster cannons and aerial bombs targeting enemy positions with precision. Among their targets, the OG-9 homing spider droids and the 30-meter-long super-heavy tanks produced by the Semiles were given special attention, suffering under the concentrated firepower from above. On the ground, anti-aircraft artillery and missiles launched desperately into the sky, attempting to repel the overwhelming fighter group that numbered over 4,000. Despite their efforts, it was akin to trying to empty the ocean with a bucket. The planet Semiles was in a state of emergency, with factories operating around the clock to produce more anti-aircraft defenses. However, the challenge of transporting these weapons to the capital region, especially under the threat of Republic bombings, was daunting. Most of the Republic's fighter groups were deployed from Hunter-class battlecruisers in space, diving directly into the planet's atmosphere to engage in combat. When in need of supplies, these fighters would either land at temporary airfields behind the front lines or rendezvous with mid-air Cheer-class assault landing ships to resupply and return to the battle. Admiral Trench, commanding the defense, responded fiercely to the Republic's advances, yet he exercised caution. After suffering losses to the Republic's Behemoth-class battlecruisers early in the conflict, Admiral Davis of the Republic adopted a new tactical approach. He assembled a mobile strike fleet composed of medium-sized, high-speed warships, including Carrack-class light cruisers and Artanis-class light cruisers. This fleet, boasting formidable firepower and agility, posed a significant threat to Admiral Trench's Behemoth-class battlecruisers, despite their powerful Yamato cannons, which could only target one ship at a time. With over 70 light cruisers in this mobile strike fleet, Admiral Trench found himself at a disadvantage in the space battle. This shift in tactics was not a testament to Admiral Davis's superiority over the seasoned Admiral Trench, but rather highlighted the Galactic Republic's robust industrial support. With such backing, Admiral Davis had the luxury of experimenting with different strategies. In their previous engagements, Admiral Trench lost 9 Hydra-class battlecruisers, 1 Soa-class aircraft carrier, and 1 Rukrahuk-class battleship. In contrast, Admiral Davis's losses included 18 Jaeger-class battlecruisers, more than 20 light cruisers, and over 6,000 fighter jets. Such casualties would have been catastrophic for Trench, possibly relegating him to a menial role by Earl Dooku's decree. However, Davis received a different message, one signed by the governor of the Fourth Army, Praji himself. Praji's order was clear. With 5 days remaining for the seasonal hyperspace channel, 10 additional Jaeger-class battlecruisers and 2,000 fighter jets were en route. If more were needed, Davis was to apply without hesitation. Admiral Davis urgently requested the Kuat drive yards to dispatch the latest battleships to the front lines as swiftly as possible. "My dear, I've heard about the tough battles you've been facing and the significant losses of our warships. Fear not, for I have ample reserves. Should you need more, just say the word." This playful message left Admiral Davis momentarily speechless. Revealing this order on a public channel would likely provoke Admiral Trench, a veteran of countless battles, to unleash a torrent of curses. The Galactic Republic had initiated a new, full-scale offensive along the eastern border, igniting the flames of war on hundreds of planets simultaneously. It was astonishing that, amidst such widespread conflict, reinforcements could still be dispatched to the planet Semiles. Meanwhile, General Grievous and Count Dooku found themselves in a dire predicament on the Eastern Front, so much so that they were metaphorically at their wits' end. On Semiles, Ulu Ulix commanded an army of hundreds of thousands, launching an assault towards Tortok City. Unlike Asajj Ventress, who led charges on the front lines with saber in hand, Ulu Ulix preferred the relative safety and comfort of the command center. There, he issued orders with a map in one hand and a glass of delicious juice in the other. "General Ulix, we've nearly lost all our fighter jets in this sector. We must now concentrate all remaining jets to support General Dai Hongkui's armored advance," reported Councilman Thunbak Tula of Semilas, as an attendant fed her fruit and massaged her shoulders. Despite their gastropod nature, the Semiers, unlike the Hutts, evolved from mammals and possessed tough fur and beards, regardless of gender. Thunbak Tula, known for her indulgence and political maneuvering, lacked significant abilities outside of these areas. However, her intentions were not malevolent. Corrupt she may have been, but she genuinely aspired to advance the prosperity of Semiles and made considerable efforts towards this goal. In the original story, to prevent Semilas from falling under the Galactic Empire's yoke after the Confederation of Independent Systems collapsed, she led her planet in rebellion rather than submit to the Emperor, only to be defeated and killed by Darth Vader. Her bravery and determination in those moments starkly contrasted her previously corrupt image. Despite her lower status and power compared to Ulu Ulix, Thunbach Tula treated him with the utmost respect and humility, recognizing that the planet Dawn, which Ulu Ulix represented, was Samala's strongest ally. I hope that fat man can replicate the success we had at Menka City. We cannot afford another offensive like this, Ulu Ulix remarked disdainfully. Our planet has already suffered greatly. Without reinforcements, the progress we've made with Planet Dawn over the past decade could be lost. General Ulix, perhaps you could inquire with Governor Tang Xiao for additional support? Thunbach Tula suggested respectfully. Requesting help, as a dignitary of the planet, shouldn't you approach the governor yourself? Ulix retorted with a sneer. Thunbach Tula replied with a chuckle. It's different for me. If I approach the governor, he might think I'm trying to avoid further casualties and not putting in enough effort. But coming from you, as a frontline commander, the governor might take the request more seriously. Ulu Ulix responded coldly. This battle caught us all off guard, and even the governor-general needs time to respond. However, I can assure you that support is indeed on the way. Count Dooku and the governor-general are already mobilizing reinforcements. Tang Xiao addressed the room, his voice steady but imbued with urgency. We've managed to send one reinforcement unit, and they're currently en route. However, unless we can secure a significant advantage in this offensive, these two additional forces won't be enough to turn the tide in our favor. Thunbach Tula, his brow furrowed in surprise, inquired, Are we talking about a fleet, or perhaps additional combat robots? You'll see in due time, Tang Xiao replied, a hint of mystery in his tone. For now, I need you to focus all available resources and energy into our current efforts. Remember, the Republic has a force that hasn't been deployed since the initial landing battle. His expression turned grave as he continued, the Clone Legion of the Galactic Republic. As the weight of his words settled, the room was filled with a palpable sense of anticipation and concern. The mention of the Clone Legion, a formidable and as yet unseen adversary, underscored the gravity of their situation. The battle for the future was about to intensify, and every decision now could tip the scales in this interstellar conflict. Vol 2, Chapter 1330, Semilus Star Wars. The roar of engines filled the air, their momentum overwhelming. Hundreds of Scorpio tanks advanced rapidly, their 4 sets of tracks kicking up so much dust that they created a veritable sandstorm. Above, hundreds of Vulture robot fighter planes flew in formation, hovering at several thousand meters. Like their namesake, they waited to swoop down on any Republic fighter group that dared approach, ready to decimate the enemy. Lieutenant General Dai Hongkui, stationed in one of the command vehicles amidst the armored convoy, scrutinized the radar images with a serious gaze. His voice cut sharply through the din. Don't stop! Assault! The Scorpio tank group, moving at speeds exceeding 50 kilometers per hour, unleashed a barrage of fire as they charged, obliterating everything in their path. In Dai Hongkui's tactical vision, an armored group's assault was to be supported by a robust ground air force, including giant mechs and Wolverine anti-aircraft tanks. However, the sudden outbreak of battle on planet Semilus had caught them off guard, with many pieces of equipment not yet reinforced from other locations. Thus, Dai Hongkui had no choice but to rally the last of Semilus' air forces and launch an assault on the Galactic Republic Army in New Dalan City. He had already discerned the essence of Ulu Ulix's strategy, which was high in ambition but low in practical execution. In contrast, collaborating with the fiercely aggressive Asajj Ventress for the attack seemed a far more straightforward approach. The 90-caliber electric heat guns of the Scorpio tanks fired continuously, their high-explosive shells raining down on the Republican Army's positions. Concurrently, the leading tanks began discharging smoke bombs. The resulting dense smoke, laden with graphene dust, rendered even the most advanced radars within its range effectively blind. The Republican Army's formidable firepower was suddenly aimless, flailing in the dark, while Dai Hongkui's Scorpio tank cluster pressed on unaffected, with a singular directive: advance. As the artillery fire from the Scorpion tanks continued to devastate the Republic's positions, even the Republic Army's small-scale infantry tank mixed combat teams, centered around ATTE walkers, found themselves utterly overwhelmed. Reports of breakthroughs at the front lines streamed in, though the visual evidence of their advance was clear enough. The command center, housed within a Chira-class assault landing ship, came under attack from anti-aircraft missiles, signaling that the front line was inching ever closer to the Republic's core defenses. The army commander of the Galactic Republic, his voice hoarse from shouting, ordered all combat units to muster every effort to resist the Scorpion tank group's onslaught. But it was to no avail. In the Star Wars universe, the unique technological landscape and the presence of the Force had shaped a traditional model of land warfare that emphasized a synergy between infantry and tanks, advancing in coordinated layers. This approach also informed the combat programming of the world's battle droids. In such a universe, the concept of an armored group assault tactic had found little footing. However, this did not render the tactic ineffective. When Dai Hongqi unleashed his high-speed Scorpio tanks in a full-on assault, the Republic Army's command found themselves completely outmaneuvered. They attempted to trade space for time, hoping to erect multi-layered defense lines to halt the tank group's advance, but they were simply too slow. Before their second line of defense could be established, Dai Hongqi's tanks had already bypassed it, leaving the Republic's forces scrambling in their wake. The realization dawned on them too late. Dai Hongqi's rapid assault was not just effective, it was revolutionary in a universe unaccustomed to such tactics. In the early hours of the Dawn Star, Qi Jian delivered a report to Tang Xiao's desk, outlining Dai Hongqi's potential promotion to general following his recent achievements in battle, including the notable victory in Menka City. Before Dai Hongqi's formidable Scorpion tank battalion, the Republican Army's trench defenses stood prominently, bolstered by the robust fortifications of EEB heavy blaster machine guns, anti-tank rocket launchers, and the heavy howitzers of ATE walkers. Upon detecting the massive Scorpio tanks, the Republican forces unleashed their full arsenal, undeterred by the smoke bombs and the battlefield becoming enveloped in smoke laced with graphene powder. Their objective was singular and clear: to annihilate the enemy, to fight until the last man was standing, to shed the last drop of blood. This fierce resolve took both Asajj Ventress and Dai Hongqi by surprise. A blood-red lightsaber flashed, instantly bisecting more than a dozen Republic soldiers. "Jedi Knight, come out! Ha! Jedi Knight!" Asajj Ventress bellowed maniacally. On this battlefield, she believed no one could stand against her alone. Yet, there was silence in response. All she witnessed was the relentless advance of the Republic Army's soldiers, surging towards her like a tidal wave. The confrontation she eagerly anticipated with Jedi Masters Roddle and Muin did not materialize. They had more pressing matters to attend to. The seasonal hyperspace passage from the Ulta Galaxy to the Semirs Galaxy was open for only 11 days, and the Galactic Republic's combat strategies always hinged on one critical prerequisite. The delay in chapter updates had been resolved on Energy Exchange, allowing readers to download the app at huan.exchange and access the latest chapters across multiple platforms simultaneously. The reason behind the mobilization of over 900,000 soldiers for a staunch defense was strategic: to mislead the enemy, to feint in one direction while striking in another. Unbeknownst to the Confederation of Independent Galaxies, in the supposedly defeated command center of the Republican Army in Menka City, Jedi Master Wilf Mon and nearly 20,000 clone troopers were poised for action. Hundreds of TI assault transport ships were prepared for immediate deployment, with all clone troopers assembled and ready to embark on a moment's notice. The Confederation of Independent Galaxies, the forces on the planet Semulus, and the military generals of the planet Dawn were all oblivious to the Republic's counteroffensive gathering in Menka City, a location presumed to have already suffered a crippling defeat. Perhaps a military strategist of Ling Liang's caliber could have anticipated such a move, but she was currently preoccupied with leading the Titan battleship Xuanwu in the Eliadu Galaxy, managing the influx of immigrants from the Rendili Galaxy, leaving her no opportunity to focus on the developments on Semulus. The Galactic Republic's counterattack was poised to deliver a decisive blow from Menka City. In an astonishingly brief period, the Republic's air forces regrouped and initiated a devastating bombardment of Menka City. Following this aerial assault, 20,000 of the Republic's elite clone troopers, fully armed, embarked on a fleet of TI assault transport ships at breakneck speed, setting their sights on the capital region of the planet Semirth, Semiron City. Vol 2, Chapter 1331, The Tide Turns. The piercing air defense sirens echoed once more over the city of Semiron, a sound all too familiar to its residents. In an orderly fashion, they sought refuge in air defense shelters, bracing themselves for another wave of bombings, a scenario that had become a daily occurrence since the war began. Initially, the Galactic Republic's fighter groups targeted military installations with precision, sparing civilian infrastructure from significant damage. Their arsenal primarily consisted of V-19 Torrent light fighters and ARC-170 heavy multipurpose fighters, with a limited number of Y-wing bombers. This composition reflected the evolving combat strategy of the Republic fleet, which awaited the full deployment of the more formidable Knight-class and Empire-class Star Destroyers. However, the latest assault on Semiron marked a drastic departure from previous tactics. Thousands of V-19 Torrent fighters descended upon the city like a swarm of locusts, unleashing a devastating bombardment on all military targets. The fighters did not hesitate to attack broader areas, including streets and squares, with explosive cannons and aerial bombs. In just over 10 minutes, Semiron was engulfed in smoke and flames. Despite the ground forces' efforts launching anti-aircraft missiles and laser beams, the Republic's fighters showed no signs of retreat. After depleting their ammunition, they were promptly replaced by another wave, leaving no opportunity for the Semiron forces to counterattack. While the capital faced relentless bombing, the Galactic Republic scaled back its Air Force presence on the Tortok City and New Dharm City fronts. In Tortok City, Lieutenant General Dai Hongkui's Scorpion tank group advanced unimpeded, with the Chira-class assault landing ships already in clear view. The reduced number of Republic fighters in these areas could not fully halt the counterattacks led by Ulu Ulex and Asajj Ventress. The true extent of the Republic's strategy became apparent when hundreds of LAI assault transport boats filled the skies. Under fighter jet cover, these transports reached their designated positions and commenced a massive airborne operation. The Semiron region, home to 1.3 million garrisoned troops, found itself at a severe disadvantage. The relentless Republic bombings had crippled the rail system and severed main roads, effectively immobilizing the Semiron forces. Descending from the L8s were the Republic's clone soldiers. In the war's early stages, these clones had held their own against the Confederacy of Independent Galaxies Robot Legion, numbering in the tens of millions, with a mere force of about 2 million. However, with the destruction of the clone factory on Camino, the production of clone soldiers had ceased. The decline in numbers had not diminished the prowess of the clone soldiers. Those who had survived until now were the elite of the elite. Upon entering the complex terrain of Semiron City, they transformed into spectral warriors, elusive and deadly. With their exceptional tactical acumen and combat skills, they effortlessly dismantled the defenses of several Semirth garrison troops. Their ultimate objective was the highest command center of the Semirth Star. The emergency report sent from the capital sent shockwaves through the ranks of every separatist military commander on the planet Semilaz. Lieutenant General Dai Hongkui, General Trench, Asajj Ventress, and Ulu Ulex were all taken aback by the audacity of the Galactic Republic's commanders. They had not anticipated such ruthlessness, using nearly 1 million natural humans as expendable forces to create an opening for the clone army to strike directly at the heart of Semirth. However, upon reflection, it became clear that the Republic's commanders had their reasons. With only 11 days at their disposal, they needed to act swiftly to ensure enough time for a strategic retreat. The deployment of a 1 million-strong army meant that many were inevitably sacrificed from the outset. After an urgent strategic meeting, the separatist commanders formulated their response. Lieutenant General Dai Hongkui's armored division pressed forward, aiming to breach the Republican Army's defenses near Tortok City and target the Cheer-class assault landing ships. Admiral Trench led his fleet to engage the main forces of the Galactic Republic, preventing any unforeseen maneuvers at this critical juncture. Given the bold and desperate tactics displayed by the Republic's commanders on Semires, it was plausible that the Republic fleet might sacrifice several capital ships to enable a super battlecruiser to penetrate the planet's atmosphere. Asajj Ventress announced that a secret weapon from Count Dooku was en route and would arrive within a day. She planned to use this weapon to deliver a devastating blow to the Republican army near the capital region. Meanwhile, Ulu Ulix, along with Tunbak Tula, mobilized their forces to rush back to the capital region. Being stationed at the command center in New Daron City, Ulu Ulix was the closest to the capital among the commanders. As the separatist forces mobilized, the Galactic Republic's clone army had already encircled the underground command center of Semir's supreme commander, launching a fierce assault on the heavily fortified position. On the battlefield, two Jedi Masters, Paloish Radur and Wilf Mun, moved with incredible speed and precision. Wielding their lightsabers, they cut through enemy lines with ease. Their presence was lethal. Wherever they went, the soldiers of Semires fell. Their keen senses and formidable use of the Force allowed them to detect and neutralize hidden enemy positions, their lightsabers slicing through any obstacle to bring swift death. The entire leadership of Semiles, including the planet's governor, was barricaded behind these formidable defenses. Vol 2 Chapter 1332, Secret Weapon, Part 1. In the outer orbit of planet Semulus, aboard the flagship of the Galactic Republic fleet, a tense atmosphere enveloped the command center. Admiral Davis, the supreme commander of the fleet, received an update from his adjutant with a calm demeanor. General Davis, the radar department has just reported that our hyperspace sensor has detected activity, the adjutant reported, a hint of urgency in his voice. Admiral Davis, unfazed, responded, "It's likely the Separatists' reinforcements. Given our deep penetration behind enemy lines, this doesn't come as a surprise." He paused, reflecting on the situation. Trench's offensive has been formidable, his fleet's formation and tactics are commendable, and I must admit, there's much I can learn from him. However, this time, he's bound to face defeat. Without missing a beat, Admiral Davis issued his commands. Have the 7th Formation retreat immediately to draw the Separatist warships' fire. Let's see if they can break their formation. The 11th Formation is to execute a wide flanking maneuver towards the planet's north pole. The adjutant, slightly taken aback by the Admiral's swift transition back to fleet command, hesitated but continued, "General, there's something peculiar about this situation. The hyperspace fluctuations suggest that the incoming battlecruiser isn't part of a transport fleet. Moreover, their entry point is at the outermost periphery of the Semulus galaxy, near Planet 7. It's unusual for separatist forces, and it might indicate a hidden agenda." Admiral Davis considered this for a moment, then dismissed the concern with a wave of his hand. "The edge of the galaxy, you say? Then it's of no immediate concern. Traveling at sublight speed from Planet 7 to Semiles would take nearly a day. We'll have ample time to discern their intentions." Noticing the adjutant's anxious demeanor, Admiral Davis softened his tone. "Your caution is noted, and you raise a valid point. Deploy a Carrack-class light cruiser accompanied by a fighter squadron to investigate." "Yes, General," the adjutant replied, saluting before turning to relay the orders. Meanwhile, at the edge of the Semires galaxy, 0.0019 light-years from planet Semulus, 3 ships emerged from hyperspace. Their designs were unlike any known warships in the Milky Way, marking their arrival with a burst of white light before coming to a silent halt. As the Semires Star Wars raged on, the Confederation of Independent Galaxies spared no effort in supporting their combat fleet. The Trade Federation and the Enterprise Alliance had been dispatching a steady stream of robots and supplies. Despite the Galactic Republic fleet's relentless interception efforts, the transport fleets continued their attempts to breach the blockade. However, today's arrival was notably different. A Behemoth-class battlecruiser and a refitted CSS-1 Corellian-class large shuttle appeared in the outer space of Semiles. Without hesitation, they set a course for the planet. The CSS-1, a product of the Corellian Engineering Company, was a common sight even among the fleets of the Confederacy of Independent Systems. Yet, this particular shuttle bore modifications far from standard, hinting at a secret weapon that could change the course of the conflict. The spacecraft, originally a sleek and beautiful CSS-1 Republic-class large shuttle, often used as the ambassadorial ship of various planets, underwent a significant transformation. Its length was extended from 80 meters to 105 meters. The once round and aesthetically pleasing hull was now sharp and angular, fortified with thick armor. To accommodate its increased size, the spacecraft's engine was upgraded, elevating it to the standard of a Galactic Republic frigate. Most notably, a large hemispherical structure protruded from the center of the spacecraft's underside, giving it a peculiar, almost pregnant appearance. This modification, intended to enhance its capabilities, unfortunately rendered the shuttle distinctly unattractive. Admiral Trey, NH, having received intelligence on this development, ordered his fleet to converge on the two-ship formation. His strategy was twofold: to welcome the Behemoth-class battlecruiser as new reinforcements, and to provide cover for the modified shuttle as it made its descent into the atmosphere of the planet Semirth. The Republic fleet, promptly informed of these movements, dispatched the 3rd Squadron under the command of Vice Admiral Alfonso to intercept them. Meanwhile, on the planet Semilas, near Tortok City, the Galactic Republic's ground forces were in dire straits. Their defensive line had been breached by Lieutenant General Dai Hongkui, splitting their formation in two. Asajj Ventress, leading the follow-up troops, seized the opportunity to attempt an encirclement of the Republican army, exploiting their numerical superiority. The situation would have escalated into a slaughter had it not been for the formidable fire support from the Chira-class assault landing ship. Its intervention inflicted heavy casualties on Ventress's forces. Despite this, the defenders of Semilas mounted a vigorous counterattack against the Chira class. They unleashed a relentless barrage of anti-aircraft missiles, laser cannons, and even antiquated gunpowder anti-aircraft guns against the battleship's deflector shield. Every available weapon capable of targeting the air was mobilized in a desperate attempt to bring down the landing ship. Asajj Ventress, rather than leading the charge, observed the battle from a distance. Standing in front of the temporary command post, her cranked lightsabers at her waist, she watched the sky intently. Suddenly, a fireball streaked across the sky as the modified CSS-1 shuttle, bearing visible damage from its clash with the Republic fleet, made a daring descent. It swooped down at a low altitude before the hatch opened, and a figure leaped out, landing with such force that it created a crater in the hardened ground. Standing in the center of the crater was a man towering at 3 meters tall, encased in menacing mechanical armor bristling with weapons. To anyone unfamiliar, he might have been mistaken for a robot, but Ventress recognized him immediately. "You're here, Dirge. I hope you're going to tell me that Earl Dooku's secret weapon is still intact," Ventress said, her tone sharp yet visibly relieved at his arrival. Dirge, a formidable mercenary known for his solitary operations and ranking just behind Jango Fett and Cad Bane in the mercenary world, was an old ally of Ventress in many battles. "Intact and ready to use," Dirge replied, his voice distorted by the mechanical helmet, resonating with a beastly roar. "But first, you need to get this to me. It's a long journey from here to the capital region," Ventress pointed out. "It doesn't matter," Dirge responded, indicating that the distance was of no concern, following the plans laid out by Earl Dooku. "All I need to focus on is the effectiveness of this weapon," Diki stated coldly. "As for those from the Dawn planet, I don't trust them." Easter egg chapter attached picture 1. Read for free. Please remember the first domain name of this book. Vol 2, Chapter 1333, Secret Weapon. A sea of burnt red spread across the thick iron gate. As the red faded to a paler hue, molten iron began to trickle down. After a moment, the tip of a blue lightsaber pierced through the gate. The lightsaber was quickly withdrawn, and a low, majestic voice emanated from the still melting hole. "Should we force our way in, or will you open the door and surrender?" Inside the gate lay a vast hall, where a team of fully armed Semilas Iron Armor Legion guards stood, protecting hundreds of civil servants and dozens of high-ranking officials of planet Semilas, dressed in their finery. Among them was the governor of planet Semilas. Fear was evident in their eyes as they exchanged glances, yet none dared to speak. With no response forthcoming, the voice outside the door declared, "In that case, I will begin to blow the door open." Take cover, for the molten iron and shrapnel will not discriminate. The lightsaber then pierced through the hole once more, slowly enlarging it. Wait, we surrender. We surrender! The governor of planet Semilus, unable to withstand the pressure and threats any longer, shouted out. He looked around at the other officials, disappointment written all over his face, and said with a bowed head, "We have lost." As the door, weighing hundreds of tons, slowly opened, all the high-ranking Semilus officials and guards emerged from their refuge, laying down their weapons and raising their hands in surrender. Greeting them were numerous clone soldiers in full armor, standing tall and imposing, along with two Jedi Masters at the forefront, Master Plunged and Master Wilf Mon. "Where is the blueprint data of the Infinity-class super aircraft carrier?" Master Raduel asked coldly. "In the headquarters of the Argonev-class interstellar base," the governor of Semilus planet replied. Master Raduel raised his hand, using the force to lift the governor's plump body into the air. "Ensure the blueprint data is handed over." This is impossible. We don't have the authority. The data was provided by the Trade Federation," the governor protested. "You have no choice," Wilf Mon said grimly, his sharp fangs bared. Suddenly, his figure vanished, reappearing almost instantly near a console in the hall, behind the crowd. A Semilus engineer was frantically operating the mainframe, shielded by the bodies of the governor and others. The lightsaber flashed, and in an instant, the engineer's head was severed. Master Mengen kicked the headless corpse aside, examined the host screen, and halted the deletion process. "Endless level, test data. With these, we can establish numerous design standards." Master Ladur sneered at the governor. "Now, let me ask you again, do you choose to end like this engineer, or will you ensure the interstellar base transmits the data?" I'll notify them now. I'll notify them." The governor hastily nudged the Minister of Defense beside him, urging, "Quick, have them transmit the blueprint." "The blueprint data is extensive. It will take at least an hour to transmit," the Minister of Defense said, sweating profusely. "It doesn't matter, we can wait," Master Radur said confidently, not concerned about the delay. For this clone army, which has been conquering territories across the Milky Way and boasts 2 legions, no force in the galaxy could breach their defenses in less than an hour. As for their navy, it represented the main fleet of the Fourth Army of the Republic now firmly controls the situation. Additionally, command all warships to lower their shields, deactivate their engines, and surrender. Order all military units to lay down their arms. Radur issued his commands with authority. Governor Semilus, drenched in sweat, hesitated. "Master, it's not that I'm unwilling, but our forces, including the fleet, are primarily composed of generals appointed directly by the Federation of Independent Galaxies." Master Raduel's gaze turned icy, filled with an unmistakable indifference. The governor shuddered under that stare, realizing, the individual before him was far from an ordinary Jedi Knight. The 2 Jedi Masters present seemed utterly unburdened by the prospect of taking lives. I can ensure the garrison in the capital region disarms, and the commander of the interstellar base is also under my command. In a panic, the governor quickly grabbed his communicator to issue the orders himself. Meanwhile, Master Wilf Mon approached, activating a light screen, and announced, "Reinforcements are incoming." The screen displayed a rapidly approaching reinforcement army from New Daram City, heading towards the capital region. Leading this army were the dark Jedi warrior Ulu Ulex and Thunbak Tula, the esteemed representative from the planet Semers. Unaware that the planet's highest command bunker had fallen, they continued to report their position, aiming to reassure the governor and prevent panic. Uru Ulex was once an apprentice to Master Green Betty and betrayed her during the Battle of Bespin. Master Raduel's voice was cold, his words sharp. "A blood debt must be repaid with blood." Master Mengen, with a fierce smile, moved towards the door. "And Thunbak Tula, she holds significant influence on Semirs. Capturing her would ensure the planet's complete collapse," added Master Raduel. Wilf Mon remained silent but gestured subtly as he passed a group of clone troopers. A clone commander with blue shoulder armor immediately stood, rallying his troops. 419th Assault Battalion, 392nd Assault Battalion, prepare for battle. Simultaneously, a convoy of hover trucks carrying Semmer's fighters sped along the road from New Daron City towards the capital. In the skies, a squadron of Vulture droid fighters and several bounty hunters modified combat spacecraft provided low-altitude cover. With the Galactic Republic's air forces bombarding relentlessly, the Semires, lacking air superiority, dared not challenge the Republic's dominance. Dark Jedi Knights Ulu Ulix and Thunback Tula were aboard a massive command vehicle, over 50 meters in length. Equipped with state-of-the-art command and communication systems, as well as formidable weaponry like close-in laser cannons and heavy anti-armor ion cannons, it resembled a moving fortress. Upon learning that the capital region had been stormed by the Clone Legion, which had effortlessly bypassed all defensive garrisons to target the Supreme Command's underground shelter, Ulu Ulix and his forces, being the nearest, immediately mobilized to provide support. Hindered by a lack of armored and motorized units, they managed to gather over 10,000 Semir soldiers, pushing the transport vehicles to their maximum capacity. Most vehicles and spacecraft were committed to supporting Lieutenant General Dai Hongkui's Scorpion Tank Group's offensive, a maneuver that demanded extensive logistical support. As they neared their destination, Ulu Ulek sensed something amiss, his intuition signaling that the situation was far from straightforward. Right, from the perspective of the original force, it seems there's a significant danger in this direction. This is a battlefield. Danger is inherent, Thunback Tula responded. However, moments later, their communicators buzzed with alarming news. The Supreme Command of Planet Semilas had been overtaken, with the planetary governor and the defense minister among those captured in a swift coup. Furthermore, the planetary governor had issued an order for all warships and military units to surrender. Idiots! They couldn't even hold out for half a day, Ulu Ulix exclaimed in rage, slamming his fist against the console. Inform our forces. Do not surrender. The Republican Army, right? The fight isn't over. To lay down our arms is to embrace death. We must make haste. Perhaps it's not too late to intervene. Upon hearing the news, Tuanbak Tula was seized by panic, his mind racing with thoughts of rescuing the governor and the others. Our position has been compromised. We've just relayed our location to the Supreme Command. This must be the crisis I sensed, Ulu Ulek stated. Rises is a constant on the battlefield, especially with Jedi Knights and clone legions opposing us. Feeling a sense of crisis is to be expected, Tuanbak Tula quickly retorted, her voice tinged with fear that Ulu Ulex might decide against the rescue. Ulu Ulex shot her a look of disdain. Worry not, the clone army poses no threat. Ventress has secured a secret weapon. Do you know why I dared to bring only 10,000 troops back to the capital for reinforcements? A secret weapon? Thunbak Tula expressed her surprise. What kind of weapon is it? Despite the political advancements of planet Semers, you lack independent command, and thus have no right to this information. Just observe, Ulu Ulix replied with a sneer. Yet he conceded that Tula's point was valid and chose to disregard the ominous premonition from the Force. However, as they advanced, their convoy was suddenly bombarded with anti-tank rockets from the ruins of a building. Most rockets were intercepted, but one struck a hover truck, triggering a massive explosion that killed over 20 Semir's soldiers on board. Enemy attack! Disembark! The Semir's soldiers, well-trained as they were, quickly exited the vehicle, returned fire towards the source of the missile, and sought cover. Damn it! It's an ambush! Find cover now! Uru Ulex commanded. Suddenly, amidst the chaos of battle, he detected faint footsteps on the roof of his command vehicle. Amidst the cacophony of gunfire, only he, a dark Jedi, could discern them. Jedi Knight. Ulu Ulex's expression darkened, turning almost savage as he gritted his teeth and instructed Tula, "Contact Ventress. Tell her to come here immediately." Okay. Thunbak Tula hastily grabbed a communicator from a nearby soldier and initiated contact. Meanwhile, Ulu Ulix had vanished from inside the command vehicle. He reappeared atop the vehicle, a flat expanse about 40 by 15 meters in size, now observing several destroyed turrets emitting thick smoke. The battle between the clone troopers and the Smire's soldiers raged around him, intense and unforgiving. But Ulu Ulex's focus was solely on the figure before him, a werewolf. Clad in the samurai attire of the Jedi Order and wielding a green lightsaber, the werewolf bore a ferocious expression. It was Wilf Mon. Blood debt, Meng-En declared, his voice heavy with vengeance. With a menacing grin that revealed his ferocious fangs, Ulu Ulex bellowed, "Wilf Mon, you're courting death." His anger flared, and with a swift motion, he discarded his invaluable black velvet cloak, unsheathed the lightsaber at his waist, and activated its blood-red blade with a press of a button. However, Wilfmon merely sneered disdainfully and said coldly, "Weak." To Ulu Ulex's astonishment, he then sheathed his lightsaber. "Do you think I'm still the naive apprentice you once knew?" Ulu Ulex, who had known Mun during their time in the Jedi Order, remembered him as a quiet but amiable individual, a stark contrast to the menacing figure before him. Yet, having embraced the dark side, Ulu Ulex boasted, "The darkness has granted me unlimited power, and you're destined for nothing but death." With these words, he lunged forward, unleashing the fourth sword technique, Atalu, in a swift motion. But in the blink of an eye, Wilfmon vanished, leaving Ulu Ulex grasping at air, with only the eerie howl of a wolf echoing in his ears. Meanwhile, in the airspace outside the capital region, a heavily modified CSS-1 Republic-class large shuttle, its appearance marred by thick, unsightly armor and an awkward, hemispherical device attached to its underside, cruised through the sky. In the cockpit, the renowned mercenary De Chi took the controls, issuing commands over the communication system. "The weapon will be ready in 5 minutes. Until then, I cannot afford to be shot down. Asajj Ventress, I'm counting on you." "I'll handle this personally. Those pathetic Republic ships won't lay a finger on you," came the confident reply from Asajj Ventress. Outside, a fan-class fighter darted through the sky, effortlessly shooting down any Republic fighters that dared to approach. As the battle raged on, the lines between friend and foe blurred, with each character driven by their own convictions and the lure of power, setting the stage for an epic confrontation. Vol 2, Chapter 1334, Secret Weapon, Part 2. On the Geonosian planet, the Genoix-class fighter jet, produced by the Geonosian Heprapasa Tisk shipbuilding complex, is known as the Fan Knife Fighter. This fighter jet is a testament to the Geonosians' formidable industrial capabilities. It is a custom-built model with limited production but exceptional performance. Designed for atmospheric combat, its wings extend to enhance aerodynamic performance. The wings, crafted from a unique energy-conducting material, can form a loop with the fighter's own deflector shield when fully energized. This feature grants the fighter jet remarkable sustained combat capabilities. In this state, the Genoix-class fighter's wings can slice through the hull of an enemy fighter with ease, justifying its nickname. The energy-infused, fan-shaped wings are nearly indestructible, making them impervious to light firepower and sometimes even requiring multiple shots from a battleship's close-in defense guns to damage. However, a significant drawback is that with its wings spread and powered up, the fighter shines like a beacon on radar screens. After the Geonosians joined the Federation of Independent Galaxies, Count Dooku assigned all the Fanblade fighter squadrons to Asajj Ventress. Ventress has since achieved commendable success with these fighters across multiple battlefields. Even when she is alone, her formidable dark side force, combined with the superior performance of the Fan Knife Fighter, renders her nearly unstoppable on the chaotic battlefield above the capital region of planet Semirs. On the battlefield, Deki's modified CSS-1 large shuttle was not particularly notable. The pilots of Simirs were not accustomed to standard fighter jets, so they primarily operated spaceships. Although these were few in number, they were still present. Nonetheless, Ventress's Fan Blade fighter, with its conspicuous radar signal, attracted numerous fighter formations from the Galactic Republic. However, these V-19 Torrent light fighters were effortlessly shot down by Ventress, unable to mount any effective resistance. Like the Jedi Knights, Dark Jedi Knights possess a strong predictive ability when piloting a fighter jet, along with the physical endurance to maneuver the jet at high speeds and make sharp turns, regardless of the G-force. With Ventress's cover, the CSS-1 shuttle piloted by Deki occasionally launched artillery fire at enemy ships, but their powerful shields easily deflected these attacks, causing minimal damage. Upon reaching the capital region's airspace, Deki increased the shuttle's altitude. At over 10,000 meters, he moved to the co-pilot's seat, which had been modified into a new console. After a brief check, He opened a flap and pressed a red button below. Instantly, a hemispherical device beneath the shuttle unfolded, revealing a light green orb. Once charged, the orb emitted a beam of light that cascaded down onto Semiron, the capital city of Semirs. Accompanying the beam was a burst of ultra-high-frequency resonance, imperceptible to ordinary people. Meanwhile, in an underground bunker in Selmaron City, Jedi Master Paulo Rador oversaw the disheartened governor and top leadership of Semirs. He was also coordinating the transmission of blueprints for the Infinity-class supercarrier from the Argonev-class starbase. To expedite the process, he simultaneously sent a copy to the Fourth Army headquarters. Despite the Separatists' interference causing some data loss, the transmission was secure. The progress bar indicated that 52% of the data had been successfully transferred. Master Radul gazed at the screen, a sudden, inexplicable sense of unease washing over him, accompanied by a foreboding premonition. Abruptly, he stood and hastened towards the door. As he stepped outside, a faint green light bathed the area from above. Simultaneously, the clone soldiers nearby collapsed like marionettes with their strings cut, plunging the surroundings into eerie silence. "What is this?" Master Radul exclaimed, shocked. Through his force sensitivity, he realized that the clone soldiers had perished instantly. He rushed to assist one of them, but as he grasped the soldier's armor, it disintegrated, releasing a reddish, foul-smelling liquid from within. The clone troopers had been dissolved. "Attention all units. Respond immediately." Master Radul urgently broadcasted to the clone combat units, but there was no reply. Without hesitation, Master Radul dashed towards the underground shelter. As he entered, he was met with a barrage of blaster fire. The Semir's Armored Legion soldiers, who had previously surrendered, had taken up arms again and were firing relentlessly at him. It was clear that the instant death of the clone troopers was known to those in the shelter as well. Master Radul deftly wielded his lightsaber, deflecting the incoming fire. He noticed the mainframe, previously tasked with receiving and transmitting the blueprints of the Infinity-class super aircraft carrier, had been destroyed, its memory components shattered. Realizing the situation was beyond salvage, Master Radul ceased his counterattack and made a swift retreat. Along his path, the sight of clone soldiers' corpses, with pink liquid seeping from their armor, was a grim testament to the tragedy that had unfolded. Not a single clone soldier had survived. Even Republic fighter jets, piloted by the few clones involved in the battle, were plummeting from the sky. Suddenly, a Geonosis fan-class fighter jet swooped down, and after a fierce strafing run, its hatch opened. A bald woman with a slim figure and a pale complexion leaped out, wielding 2 crimson lightsabers. It was Asajj Ventress. "Old man, how do you like this genetic resonator?" "Ha!" Ventress taunted. "Now, you stand alone in the entire capital region." Master Radul's expression hardened. He opened a communication channel to Master Meng En and said gravely, "Retreat, immediately." As he spoke, a massive figure descended from the sky behind him, standing 3 meters tall and clad in terrifying mechanical armor. It was the super mercenary Dutch. In the outer orbit of planet Semulus, aboard the flagship of the Fourth Army of the Galactic Republic's main fleet, a tense situation was unfolding. "Sir, the 3 warships you instructed me to monitor have appeared on the galaxy's edge. Our drones attempted to approach them, but were swiftly shot down. The optical image is currently being transmitted. We should receive it in 5 minutes," reported a radar operator, approaching the fleet's adjutant with urgency. Shortly after, the optical image, along with basic data, was received. The central warship among the trio measured 550 meters in length, its design sleek and reminiscent of a long knife, though a massive opening at the bow disrupted its otherwise seamless aesthetic. The flanking ships, each 1,254 meters long, featured a rounded upper structure and a roughly rectangular lower half, giving them the appearance of birds crouching on the ground from a distance. The adjutant mused over the strategic implications. These 3 battleships are clearly of capital ship caliber. Why would they choose to jump to the galaxy's edge instead of directly entering the gravitational well of planet Semulus to join Trench's formation? Their current positioning makes little strategic sense. Intent on seeking further insight, he approached Admiral Davis, the fleet commander. "General, I've detected those 3 warships. Before he could finish, an urgent update came from the communications officer. General, we have a situation. All our clone troops have lost contact. Master Radul is unreachable as well. Admiral Davis was taken aback. That's impossible. We received a status report from the Clone Legion just 10 minutes ago, and all was normal. Nothing could have severed our communications so abruptly. The Admiral's concern over the lost communications momentarily overshadowed the threat posed by the unidentified warships. With a new wave of reinforcements recently arrived, his fleet boasted 56 Jaeger-class battlecruisers and 120 smaller battleships. Against such formidable firepower, he believed the 3 solitary capital ships posed no significant threat. Dispatch additional fighter squadrons immediately. Conduct a reconnaissance of the capital region's battle situation, ordered Admiral Davis, swiftly coordinating a response, and get me in touch with Master Wilf Mon at once. However, the situation rapidly deteriorated as the adjutant received alarming news. Sir, the central battleship is charging its weapons, exclaimed a radar operator. Charging? How did we miss this? The adjutant was in disbelief. The data is 16 hours old. Given their position at the galaxy's edge, 0.019 light-years away, it takes 16 hours for the information to reach us at the speed of light, explained the radar operator. Realizing the gravity of the situation, the adjutant urgently grabbed Admiral Davis. General, we are under attack. Attack? From where? Admiral Davis was both confused and enraged by the sudden escalation. Before he could process the situation further, a blinding orange-red light illuminated the space outside the porthole. A Jaeger-class battlecruiser in the 4th Army's formation was engulfed in the intense glow. The light was so bright that crew members witnessing the event through the portholes were temporarily blinded, their screams filling the air as they shielded their eyes. The light persisted for a second before gradually fading, shifting to a reddish hue as it dimmed, leaving the fleet in a state of shock and confusion. The scene was not illuminated by a mere single ray of light, but was instead engulfed by a direct, intense beam. Surrounding this beam, a spiral of energy traced its path through space. The target, a Jaeger-class battlecruiser, began to emit thick plumes of smoke as its deflector shield shattered and its outer armor sustained severe damage. It was clear that the cruiser's single-layer armor, designed for hunter-level abilities, would not withstand another hit. Where did that attack come from? Admiral Davis demanded, his grip tightening, his adjutant's shoulder like an enraged lion. It appears to have originated from the central battleship among the 3 positioned on the galaxy's edge. We've just received intel that this battleship began charging its weapon 16 hours ago, the adjutant hurriedly explained. The notification of their charging and the attack itself reached us simultaneously. This was a light-speed attack. Light-speed attack? An energy weapon? Impossible! How can there be an energy weapon capable of covering half a planetary system? Admiral Davis's complexion turned ashen. His alarm was justified. The theoretical maximum range of a Jaeger-class battlecruiser's weaponry was 10 light minutes, and maintaining its power beyond this range was already a challenge. This was the domain of heavy turbo laser cannons, which, despite their name, did not actually fire at the speed of light, but rather launched plasma explosive gas, making them sublight speed, semi-energy weapons. By contrast, laser cannons, as pure energy weapons, lacked any Galactic Republic technology that could achieve a range beyond 5 light minutes. Yet the range of the attack they had just endured was 0.0019 light-years, equivalent to 16 light hours, nearly 200 times the maximum range of the Republic's laser cannons. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Admiral Davis bellowed, "Quick! All warships, break formation immediately! Move now!" But his command came too late. The blinding light flared once more, targeting the already damaged Jaeger-class battlecruiser. This time, there was no escape. The cruiser was obliterated from bow to stern, transforming into a colossal fireball, a swirling mass of molten metal and armor. Following Admiral Davis's order, the remaining ships of the Republic fleet scrambled to vacate their positions. In the ensuing chaos, the 3rd and 4th attacks were launched in quick succession, both targeting the remains of the destroyed Jaeger-class cruiser. It seemed the attackers were unaware of the effectiveness of their weapon. unsure how many strikes were needed to annihilate a cruiser of this class. Without the capability for hyperspace communication, the data from these attacks would take another 16 hours to be transmitted back. Neither the Galactic Republic nor the Confederation of Independent Galaxies possessed tactical-level hyperspace communication capabilities, as establishing such a network required the construction of dedicated hyperspace communication base stations. This realization struck Admiral Davis with a chilling fear. If this weapon could be mass-produced, it would necessitate a complete overhaul in the design and tactical planning of the Galactic Republic's warships. Deploy the battle formation immediately. We must advance and destroy those 3 warships. Admiral Davis commanded, his voice thunderous. Easter Egg Chapter Attachment 1, Disaster Class Battlecruiser. As for the visualization of the Light Spear's activation, that is left to the reader's imagination. Please remember the first domain name of this book. Website. Vol 2, Chapter 1336, Particle Lance, Part 1. On the edge of the Semilas galaxy, aboard the Lance disaster-class battlecruiser, the Lance, a soldier hurried over to salute before reporting. The 5th shot is complete. The temperature of the energy transmission system has reached 92% of the design limit value. Do you want to continue shooting, Mr. Chief Engineer? No need. That battleship must have been destroyed. There's no need to continue firing. Immediately conduct a self-check and report to me on the operation of the entire light spear system, commanded a tall and thin Solarian standing at the center of the bridge. He was Arroyo Barlow, the chief engineer of the Scientific Research Department of the Fourth Civilization. Arroyo's presence on the front lines for the first actual combat test of the light spear system was a testament to the Solarian's dedication to scientific research. Despite the concerns of the Chief of Staff, Chi Jian, and others, they were unable to deter him. Even Modin Soros, the current elder of the Solarians, showed no interest in stopping him, focusing instead on the pressing issues facing the rapidly growing Solarian population. The self-test of the energy system is complete. Everything is normal, announced a technician, turning away from the operating console. Arroyo, however, was quick to identify issues. The energy transmission rate of the 7th, 9th, and 16th nodes has decreased. Send someone to check the feedback data immediately. Without missing a beat, he demoted an engineer who failed to correlate system data with on-site conditions to a cleaner, tasked with cleaning toilets. Engineers swiftly boarded a compact engineering suspension vehicle to inspect the energy transmission lines. They discovered issues at the specified nodes and uncovered a bug in the control system. The Kyber crystal launch source is intact. The cooling system is functioning correctly. The maximum output power of the energy core has decreased by 1.4%. The temperature at Node 4 is abnormal. All data was relayed to Arroyo Barlow, who, along with his scientific research team, began to analyze and calculate the findings. The disaster-class battlecruiser, measuring 1,550 meters in length, with its long and narrow hull resembling a sharp knife, was an ideal prototype for the light spear system. This main battleship of the Amar Empire, from the Evive technology tree, was chosen for its unique design. Originally equipped with 8 powerful laser cannons on its sides, but lacking frontal firepower, its structure perfectly accommodated the light spear system. Arroyo Barlow's research and modifications aimed to transform this battlecruiser into a formidable weapon, capable of unleashing devastating attacks with precision. The light spear system, a pinnacle of Solarian scientific achievement, was designed to pierce through the defenses of enemy ships with unparalleled efficiency. As the engineers worked diligently to address the identified issues, the potential of the Lance as a harbinger of destruction became increasingly evident, promising a new era of warfare in the galaxy. In the realm of interstellar warfare, the Fourth Civilization unveiled its pioneering first-generation particle light spear system, a marvel stretching 100 meters in length. This formidable system necessitates integration with the energy core located at the battleship's stern. However, the Fourth Civilization's current fleet, including the colossal Behemoth-class battlecruisers, lacks the capacity to accommodate such an extensive system. The Behemoth class, with its system spanning merely 700 meters, remains entrenched in traditional naval architecture, equipped with marines, fighter squadrons, and conventional armaments. Despite these limitations, the Fourth Civilization's database hinted at the existence of battleships capable of harnessing the particle light spear system, albeit requiring extensive research and development. The Solarians, with their expertise in Amarr Empire battleship technology from the EV Univae (RSC), found the challenge of developing a disaster-class battleship manageable. Upon assimilation into the Fourth Civilization Navy, this design was reclassified as a battlecruiser. The innovative particle lance system, as envisioned by Arroyo Barlow, harnessed kyber crystals as its emission source. This choice was inspired by the technology from the STARS universe. However, the realization of this system's ultra-long-distance energy-focusing capabilities proved to be a technological leap, surpassing the current advancements of the Milky Way by at least a century, challenging both the Fourth Civilization and the Galactic Republic. The narrative took a pivotal turn over 2 years ago when General Severance Tan of the fledgling Confederation of Independent Systems seized the Galactic Republic's secret weapon on the energy planet Sarabin, the Extractor. This 30-meter-long land combat unit utilized kyber crystals as its emission source. The capture of the Extractor prototype spurred extensive research by both the Confederation and the Fourth Civilization, leading to Lieutenant General Cheng Shitao's severe injury during a Republic counterattack. The Fourth Civilization scientists eventually concluded that while the Extractor's model was ill-suited for ground forces, its design could be magnified into a potent naval weapon. This insight prompted Arroyo Barlow, visionary chief engineer, to initiate the Particle Light Spear project, with the kyber crystal as its cornerstone. Kyber crystals, revered in the Star Wars universe for their unparalleled energy-focusing and amplifying abilities, are the backbone of iconic technologies such as Jedi lightsabers, the Death Star, and the Starkiller base. The precise mechanics behind the kyber crystal's immense energy output and its intimate connection with the Force remain enigmatic, even to the most esteemed scientists and Jedi researchers. This mystery underscores the crystal's dual role in energy focus and amplification, a phenomenon that seemingly defies the law of energy conservation. The decision to harness the kyber crystal for the Particle Light Spear project marked a significant technological advancement for the Fourth Civilization, enabling them to embark on a path previously thought unattainable. This strategic move not only leveraged the crystal's mystical properties, but also signified a leap towards mastering a technology that could redefine the dynamics of interstellar warfare. In the realm of the Crystal Planet, Christopher Sis, the Fourth Civilization boasts a vast and stable supply chain of crystals. Among these, the source of the kyber crystal has been secured, paving the way for groundbreaking advancements. Thanks to this, Arroyo Barlow succeeded in his ambitious project, the development of the Particle Light Spear. Please note the original domain name of this book for future reference. Vol 2, Chapter 1337, Particle Lance, Part 2. The disaster-class battlecruiser underwent a significant transformation for its particle light spear system. Originally equipped with 8 super-heavy laser cannons on each side, these were converted into 16 energy node arrays to power the entire system. The design's energy supply structure resembled a Christmas tree, with the central light spear launcher acting as the trunk and the 16 groups of energy nodes as the branches and leaves. This innovative design led Arroyo Barlow to consider the warship the ideal prototype for carrying such technology. The particle light spear functions as a high-energy, light-speed particle emitter. However, due to the wave-particle duality principle, energy weapons like lasers tend to diffuse over distance, losing focus and becoming as ineffective as a flashlight beam. The primary challenge with this technology was maintaining the focus of light-speed particles over extended periods. After firing, the particle light spear's ion beam would display 2 distinct trajectories, a straight line from direct emission and a spiral pattern wrapping around the first. This spiral pattern represented the technology's ability to restrict and focus the light-speed particles effectively. In the current era, warfare in the Milky Way was still evolving, with new weapons constantly emerging. The introduction of Wraith and Banshee fighter jets prompted the Galactic Republic to accelerate anti-stealth technology research. Similarly, the development of supermaterial electromagnetic guns on Cole-class battlecruisers and Ragnarok-class Titan battleships forced a re-evaluation of kinetic energy weapon countermeasures. The particle light spear represented a groundbreaking advancement in weaponry, being at least a century ahead of existing Milky Way technology. Without the Kyber crystal, even with all necessary data, it would have taken at least 10 years for related technologies to mature enough to develop this weapon. The Kyber crystal effectively provided a shortcut in this technological leap. In the Star Wars universe, the Death Star's technology is a close parallel, relying on the same Kyber crystal. However, constructing the Death Star would take at least 20 years, and its energy system remained theoretical. The idea of mass-producing such a weapon for battleship use was unprecedented. The introduction of the particle light spear dramatically altered the tactical landscape for the Galactic Republic, the Confederation of Independent Galaxies, and even the Fourth Civilization. Traditionally, Milky Way battles spanned distances of tens of thousands of kilometers, rarely exceeding 100,000 kilometers, and were largely planet-centric. Energy weapons delivered instant hits, while sublight weapons like missiles allowed for detection and interception or evasion. However, the particle light spear introduced the capability for light-speed strikes at planetary system distances, fundamentally changing the dynamics of interstellar warfare. In an era where attacks could be launched at the speed of light, taking mere minutes or even hours to reach their target, the concept of dodging was rendered obsolete. Given that all current methods of observation operated at the speed of light, by the time an attack was detected and the information relayed, the light-speed projectile would have already arrived. This reality necessitated the development of superluminal communication technologies for both attackers and defenders to transmit and receive information instantaneously. Hyperspace communication, a technology that had matured significantly, allowed for real-time communication across galaxies and was not challenging to implement within a planetary system. However, establishing a tactical-level hyperspace communication base station was essential. The limitations of using planetary hyperspace communication base stations included their inability to transmit complex data and their susceptibility to interference from battlefield signals. Thus, detecting an ultra-long-range strike from a particle light spear was not inherently difficult. The challenge lay in upgrading the fleet's supporting infrastructure to utilize hyperspace communication effectively. Even with this technology, avoiding a strike from half a galaxy away remained a daunting task. As the battlefield expanded to span light minutes and light hours, conventional weapons like missiles and turbo laser guns became obsolete. This predicament confronted Admiral Davis, commander of the Fourth Army Fleet of the Galactic Republic, following an attack by an ultra-long-distance particle light spear. In response, he ordered his warships into a constant state of evasion, changing positions continuously. Additionally, he dispatched 10 Hunter-class battlecruisers to form an assault formation and target the enemy ships at the galaxy's edge. The enemy intends to strike us from a great distance. They must have concealed detection outposts within the galaxy. Deploy spaceships to locate these outposts immediately, Admiral Davis commanded. Also, assess the feasibility of using hyperdrives for short-distance hyperspace jumps within the galaxy. General, the assessment presents significant challenges. Considering the orbits of the 7 planets in the Semiles galaxy, attempting a short-distance hyperspace jump near planet Semiles would be problematic. Planets 5 and 7 create a mass projection in hyperspace, disrupting our jump. The enemy has strategically chosen this location, forcing us to wait for a clear hyperspace channel, which could take at least 10 days, the navigation engineer explained. And what about an attack using sublight drives? How long would that take? Admiral Davis inquired. Approaching while maintaining evasive maneuvers could take nearly 3 days. However, I've devised a strategy involving multiple ultra-short-distance hyperspace jumps to circumvent the mass projection of planets 5 and 7, reducing the time to 1 day, the navigation engineer replied. Admiral Davis's expression was grim as he decisively commanded, "Abort the attack plan. We need to retreat." His adjutant, however, raised a concern. Retreating in the face of the enemy's ultra-long-range laser attack poses a significant risk. If our warship remains stationary for too long, the enemy can relay targeting information from the planet via hyperspace communication, allowing them to launch a direct attack. Consequently, our battleship cannot remain in the same location for more than 16 hours. Yet, to evacuate our troops, staying for less than 16 hours is unfeasible. With a cold, unwavering tone, Admiral Davis responded, "Abandon all ground forces. In our strategy, they were merely expendable assets." He then gestured towards another document on the table. "We've established contact with Master Wilf Mon and confirmed that all clone soldiers have perished due to unknown causes. This means there's nothing more we can achieve on planet Semiles." Note, the original text seems to be part of a larger narrative not related to Harry Potter, and it includes references to space warfare and technology not present in the Harry Potter universe. The instructions have been followed to improve the quality of the English text, but the content remains unchanged as it does not align with the Harry Potter theme. Vol. 2, Chapter 1338, Moonlit Night Werewolf. As Admiral Davis made his declaration, a somber mood enveloped everyone present. His assessment was painfully accurate. The Galactic Republic was at a severe disadvantage on the planet Semiles. Their conventional forces were being decimated by Lieutenant General Dai Hongqui's formidable Scorpion tank battalion, and the clone army, their most reliable backup, had been mysteriously annihilated. This left them virtually doomed on the terrestrial battlefield. The situation in space was equally dire. Launching an offensive seemed futile, as their fleet was no match for the independent Galaxy Confederation's fleet, which was fortified by the Argonev-class interstellar base, especially under the command of Admiral Trench, a master of defensive strategies. On the defensive front, the emergence of a weapon capable of light-speed strikes from vast distances posed a constant threat. Although the weapon's reach meant a 16-hour delay before impact, and it could only target one battleship at a time, its mere existence forced the Republic fleet to remain on the move, leaving them at a disadvantage against the Separatist fleet's assaults. Admiral Davis's conclusion was bleak but clear. A strategic retreat was the only viable option. Although sacrificing their ground forces was part of the initial plan, the expectation had been to evacuate at least some personnel, including the clone army, to claim a Pyrrhic victory. However, the current scenario, a complete wipeout of both the clone and conventional forces, coupled with significant fleet losses, would inevitably be branded as a total annihilation by the media and public opinion, effectively ending his military career. "Retreat!" Admiral Davis commanded, his voice heavy with the burden of defeat. "I alone bear the responsibility for this failure. General, we've secured nearly half of the design blueprints for the Endless-class super aircraft carrier. With these blueprints, this operation cannot be deemed a total failure," Lieutenant General Alfonso, commander of the 3rd Squadron, interjected. Admiral Davis's response was stern. "We cannot afford to delude ourselves. We planned a surprise attack, yet we were the ones caught off guard. This is a defeat, plain and simple. However, I suspect we've been manipulated." "Do you mean the information leak?" Lieutenant General Alfonso inquired. The leak gave the Separatists a day's notice, allowing them basic preparations to counter our surprise attack. "Someone wanted us to deplete our forces on Semiles," Admiral Davis speculated, hinting at the mysterious benefactor who provided them with the seasonal hyperspace channel. Yet, they also sought the Endless-class super aircraft carrier blueprints. This contradiction suggests they have ulterior motives. Meanwhile, half a day earlier, on the outskirts of Semile's capital region, Jedi Master Wilf Mun, known as the Werewolf Jedi, stood atop a large command vehicle. He was overseeing the fierce battle between his 2 battalions of clone troopers and the Semiles soldiers. Beside him lay the lifeless body of Uru Ulex, a traitor to the Republic and a dark Jedi, his expensive black velvet cloak discarded and stained with blood. Uru Ulex's demise marked the end of his betrayal, his luxurious lifestyle, and his insatiable vanity. In a position of high authority, victory was not guaranteed. Facing the bloodthirsty and enraged werewolves, he lacked even the basic qualifications to compel Mengen to draw his lightsaber. It was a death most miserable. He was mercilessly torn to shreds by Meng En's razor-sharp claws. Blood debt, blood payment. Meng En, revealing his sharp fangs, turned his gaze towards Thunback Tula, a trembling member from the planet Semirs, who was cowering inside the command vehicle. Step by step, Meng En approached, his claws still dripping with blood. However, at that moment, he received an urgent message from his former master and current ally, Master Polish Rador. The message was brief, containing only 2 words, "Run away immediately." Wilf Mun was puzzled by Master Rador's directive to flee, but his werewolf instincts and the Force's guidance alike signaled imminent danger. Without hesitation, Mun acted. He reached out to the Air Force, requesting a LA assault transport to evacuate the captive Thunback Tula, and ordered the clone troops he led to retreat with utmost urgency. Yet before the late could arrive, the situation took a dire turn. A light green glow descended from the sky, followed by an ultra-high-frequency resonance. In an instant, all the clone soldiers around collapsed, their bodies dissolving into a foul-smelling pink sludge. Meng En's eyes blazed with fury. He grabbed Thunback Tula, demanding, "What is this?" I don't know. Ulu Ulix mentioned it was a secret weapon, but he said I wasn't cleared to know more." Thunback Tula stammered, terrified. The Semmer's soldiers, realizing their clone adversaries had been instantly neutralized, cautiously surrounded them, wary of endangering Thunback Tula. Meng En's eyes gleamed menacingly as he tightened his grip on Tula's neck. Yet, after a moment's consideration and a disdainful snort, he chose not to kill her. Instead, he leaped, darting through the encircling soldiers with incredible speed, and vanished into the darkness. A figure, nearly imperceptible to the average eye, darted swiftly, too quick for any reaction. This figure navigated between buildings, covering distances of over 10 meters in mere moments, and soon perched atop an antenna on a 10-story building, surveying the city below. The city of Semeron was still under bombardment, though the intensity had lessened, and the formations of Republic fighter jets in the sky had thinned. The Republic's Fourth Army was preparing to withdraw, a retreat order Meng En had received but chose to ignore for the time being. A blood debt remained unpaid. With a powerful leap, he vanished, reappearing on another building. From this vantage point, he observed the entrance to an underground shelter. There, a body clad in a Jedi Knight's simple robe lay motionless, while several Semmer's soldiers were seen handling a lightsaber, presumably to be stored away. The body was unmistakably that of his former master, Polish Rador. However, the dark Jedi responsible for his death, Asajj Ventress, was nowhere to be found. No matter, there was plenty of time. With a piercing howl, Master Meng En launched himself into the midst of the unsuspecting Semmer soldiers, driven by vengeance and fury. Please remember the first domain name of this book, website address. Vol 2, Chapter 1339, Hyperspace Changes. In the current stage of the battle, the Republic is likely considering a retreat. A voice echoed in the darkness, its pitch slightly high yet chilling, carrying an unsettling blend of coldness and darkness that instilled fear in those who heard it. They still possess nearly 60 Hunter-class battlecruisers, hundreds of light cruisers and frigates, and over 10,000 fighter jets. It would be a shame for them to retreat now, another voice chimed in. They have the firepower to destroy the shipyard of the Endless-class supercarrier. Have you located the dock? The first voice inquired, its tone tinged with curiosity. It wasn't difficult. The Semirs concealed the dock and the prototype ship of the Infinity-class supercarrier between the interstellar base and the planet's orbit. It's arguably the safest spot in the entire Semilus galaxy. The second voice explained. In that case, we should escalate the conflict. With the skills I've taught you and your current strength, you're more than capable, the first voice suggested. As you wish, Lord, came the reply. Near a colossal star, a black spaceship hovered in space. Inside, 2 figures clad in black cloaks, one noticeably taller than the other, stood on the bridge. Suddenly, the taller figure raised his hands, channeling a terrifying force of darkness that caused space and time itself to tremble. The star seemed to be affected by this powerful dark force. Observing this, the shorter figure burst into maniacal laughter. Ha! Excellent! Your fall to the dark side has truly made you a formidable force in this galaxy. Ha! His laughter resonated through the empty bridge. In terms of strength, you're on par with Tang Xiao, and in strategy, you're the only one in this galaxy who has defeated Severance Tan. Yes, that's right. Ha 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 ha. I will mold you into the most powerful Sith Lord this galaxy has ever seen. Ha ha ha. Go forth, seek your revenge. Against the Galactic Republic, Dawn Planet, the Separatists, make them pay for their blood debts with blood. Go, Shenjan. The tremors in space generated a shockwave that was nearly imperceptible to ordinary beings, causing a disturbance in hyperspace. On the flagship of the Galactic Republic fleet orbiting the Semilus Galaxy, Fleet Commander Admiral Davis issued orders with urgency. Tighten the formation. Begin the retreat in a defensive formation, he bellowed. Has there been any word from Master Wilfmon? General Mun instructed us to retreat first in his last communication. He's staying on planet Semirs to attend to some matters, the adjutant reported. Is he seeking vengeance for Master Roddle? Or is he trying to uncover the reason behind the instantaneous demise of all the clone soldiers? Admiral Davis mused, his brow furrowed in concern. We can't wait for him any longer. Initiate the retreat, move beyond the planet's gravitational pull. Another blinding light flashed outside the porthole, darkening Admiral Davis's expression further. It was the glow of an ultra-long-range energy weapon firing from the galaxy's edge. The relentless barrage of particle-light spears forced the Republic fleet to continuously maneuver and evade, preventing them from lingering in one spot for too long and disrupting their formation. Suddenly, a voice crackled through the communicator. Great Republic Navy, are you satisfied with your use of this seasonal hyperspace channel? That mysterious man. Admiral Davis's frown deepened. Was it you who leaked our plans to raid planet Semilus to the Separatists? Ha ha! Why blame me for your own oversight? The voice retorted with a sinister laugh. Enough, we're in the process of retreating. This battle should be concluded, Admiral Davis declared. You haven't provided what I desire, the mysterious man stated coldly. The blueprint data of the Endless-class super aircraft carrier. Bastard! Lieutenant General Alfonso, commander of the 3rd Squadron, was incensed. How dare you even ask for the blueprint? NT data after everything. I should have you shot, he exclaimed sharply. However, Admiral Davis responded calmly. No problem. I'll arrange for the transmission of the blueprint data for the Endless-class super aircraft carrier that we've obtained. Before Lieutenant General Alfonso could voice his concerns, Admiral Davis raised his hand to silence him. A mysterious man, mocking the situation, sneered, Is that all the data you have? The Galactic Republic's Navy is truly underwhelming. Admiral Davis, unfazed, inquired, What do you know about the Separatism's ultra-long-range lasers and their methods for instantly eliminating all clone soldiers? I'm aware of a few things. Transmit the data to me and I'll resolve your doubts, the mysterious man replied confidently. Very well, Admiral Davis said with a cold snort, signaling his agreement. The mysterious man chuckled. I always keep my promises. Oh, and a word of caution. The seasonal hyperspace route from the Ulta Galaxy to the planet Semilus might vanish sooner than expected. Don't say I didn't warn you, he said, leaving behind a transmission address before cutting off the communication. Lieutenant General Alfonso, visibly agitated, demanded, What does he mean by the hyperspace channel disappearing early? And why did you agree to give them the data? Admiral Davis replied indifferently, I don't know who that person is, but it's clear he's not aligned with the Separatists. The enemy of our enemy may not necessarily be our friend, but if it causes more trouble for the Separatists, I see it as a worthwhile risk. But the Parliament might not see it that way. This could have serious repercussions, Lieutenant General Alfonso warned. Admiral Davis's gaze hardened. I'm not concerned with the Parliament's opinion at this point. My only focus is on seeing the end of the Separatists. With that, he pressed the button, initiating the data transfer. Suddenly, the calm atmosphere was shattered by an urgent warning from the navigator. General, we have a problem. Admiral Davis turned sharply. What's happening? The hyperspace lane, it's being disturbed, the navigator exclaimed. Disturbed? Explain, Admiral Davis demanded. I've run the calculations twice, and the results are inconsistent. It can only mean one thing. The hyperspace channel has become unstable, the navigator explained, panic edging his voice. That's impossible. The seasonal hyperspace channel was supposed to remain open for 11 days. Master Radul himself confirmed it, and it's only been 9 days, Admiral Davis protested. The navigator, looking defeated, replied, "I don't know, General. It seems we might not be able to return as planned." The tension in the room escalated as they faced the grim reality of their situation, with the stability of their escape route now in question. Volume 2, Chapter 1340, Resignation. In the core circle of the galaxy, on the planet Alderaan, within the capital of the Galactic Republic's Fourth Army, a critical report was submitted to Governor Plunged. Upon reading the report, his fists clenched, his body trembling slightly with emotion. "Has this information been confirmed? The seasonal hyperspace channel has been disrupted and is no longer navigable," he exclaimed. "Confirmed. Admiral Davis is prepared to fight to the death," replied the staff officer, his head bowed in solemnity. Governor Plunged, overcome with frustration, slammed his fist onto the table. "But didn't Master Polish Radur personally verify it before? Based on the movement of hyperspace and the mysterious gravitational waves, this seasonal hyperspace channel was supposed to have a stable period of 11 to 12 days. Our astronomers and hyperspace scientists have both confirmed that the channel has been disturbed by an unknown force," the Chief of Staff interjected, presenting another report. According to Professor Doulos, a renowned astronomer, the disturbance likely stems from fluctuations in the stars of the Ulta galaxy. "Is this a natural phenomenon or a deliberate act?" Governor Plunged inquired further. "We cannot confirm," came the uncertain reply. "Is there no way to retrieve them? What about dispatching a special spacecraft?" "We've explored numerous strategies, but none have been successful. The Semilas galaxy lies deep within the territory controlled by the Separatists, making it unreachable," the Chief of Staff explained. Governor Plunged let out a heavy sigh, collapsing onto the sofa. He pressed his forehead with his hands, falling into a long silence, his demeanor one of utter exhaustion. After more than an hour of contemplation, he finally pressed the button to connect to his assistant's communication line, his voice hoarse. "Help me draft a resignation letter. I'm truly tired." On March 12th, 20 BBBY, following the catastrophic loss of the entire main fleet, including more than 1 million natural person legions and 20,000 clone human legions on the planet Semilas, Governor Plunged of the Republic's Fourth Army accepted responsibility and resigned. Meanwhile, Admiral Davis, who had valiantly fought to the end, was communicated by the fleet commander. In recognition of his outstanding leadership and bravery, Speaker of the Galactic Republic, Schiff Palpatine, personally decided to promote Admiral Davis to the rank of Admiral of the Navy, making him the only current admiral in the Galactic Republic. This decision faced opposition from many congressmen, who argued that promoting Davis posthumously would tarnish the reputation of the newly appointed Admiral of the Navy as a defeat. However, Schiff Palpatine, invoking his emergency powers, argued that it was essential to uphold Davis's morale so he could fight to the bitter end, ensuring the main fleet did not surrender. Thus, the resolution was enforced, and Admiral Davis Holfsky was officially awarded the rank of Admiral of the Navy by the Galactic Republic. Schiff Palpatine, however, was indifferent to the controversy. After all, the defeat and death of an Admiral of the Navy would reflect poorly on the Galactic Republic, not on the future Galactic Empire over which he would reign as Emperor. Moreover, the Galactic Republic promised the officers and soldiers of the Fourth Army's main fleet that their families would be taken care of with the highest honors, allowing them to fight to the death without worry. In a significant development, Marshal Davis also relayed intelligence indicating that the Separatists possessed a genetic weapon capable of precisely targeting all clone soldiers. In a vast expanse, a weapon of mass destruction once emerged on the planet Harankar. During that period, the Separatists aimed to utilize the so-called genetic resonator to exterminate all indigenous life on Harankar. However, the weapon was ultimately dismantled by the sisters Luna Meng and Luna Huan, who embarked on a critical mission to Harankar. It has now come to light that after acquiring genetic data from the clone soldiers of Kamino, the Separatists have enhanced the genetic resonator. This modification shifted the weapon's function from indiscriminate slaughter to the targeted elimination of clones. Consequently, This batch of clone soldiers has been rendered obsolete. Additionally, intelligence has revealed that the Separatists have developed an ultra-long-range laser weapon capable of executing precise strikes from a distance of at least 16 light hours. This technological advancement is closely linked to the Extractor project, previously intercepted by Severance Tan. The revelation of these two secret weapons has profoundly alarmed the Supreme Strategic Command of the Republic. They find themselves in a precarious situation, grateful for the opportunity to launch a raid on the planet Semiles, forcing the Separatists to prematurely deploy these weapons. Otherwise, had the Separatists waited for an opportune moment to unveil these weapons, the Republic's counteroffensive would have suffered a catastrophic setback. Nevertheless, devising a strategy to counter these formidable weapons remains a significant challenge for the Republic's Supreme Strategic Command. Meanwhile, political turmoil brews within the Galactic Council. Following Governor Plague's resignation due to the annihilation of the Fourth Army's main fleet, the appointment of a new governor has become a contentious issue. As Marshal Davis leads a desperate assault on Semiles, a fierce battle for the governorship of the Fourth Army unfolds within the Council. The victor of this struggle stands to gain immense benefits from the Quat Drive Yards, becoming one of the galaxy's most influential figures. The competition is marked by bribery, kidnapping, threats, and even assassinations, as contenders resort to any means necessary to secure their position. However, for Sheev Palpatine, other plans are in motion. In his office, Palpatine reveals his true intentions with a sinister and echoing voice. "Are you prepared to assume the role of governor of the Fourth Army?" he inquires. Standing before Palpatine is Wilhuff Tarkin, a tall, thin man in military attire with a stern expression and receding hairline. Tarkin, the former governor of the 18th Army, responds confidently, "I am ready at every moment. The governorship of the Fourth Army is rightfully mine." Palpatine, with a malevolent smile, assures him, "I have already laid the groundwork for your appointment." The destruction of the 18th Army was not due to any failure in combat, but was the result of an encounter with the separatist super battleship Xuanwu and a rare superstellar flare. Your long-standing defense of the Eriadu galaxy against separatism has been commendable. The Fourth Army governorship belongs to you. But now, Palpatine adds, you have another opportunity to prove yourself, both to the Galactic Council and to me. Tarkin, with unwavering determination, declares, "Onderon will be my testament." Please remember the original domain name. It seems like you're looking to enhance the quality of a translated fanfiction novel based on the Harry Potter series, originally written in Chinese. However, you haven't provided the specific text or chapter you want to be improved. Could you please share the text or a portion of the novel you'd like me to work on? This will allow me to make the necessary corrections and enhancements according to your instructions. Vol 2, Chapter 1341, Covert Action. In the northeastern quadrant of the Milky Way, on the outer rim of the galaxy, lies the planet Mandalore. In Sundari City, the capital of the new Mandalorian regime, a shadowy figure slipped into the Sundari Palace under the cover of darkness. The palace guards, with their sluggish expressions, served merely as decoration. However, hidden within the palace were the elite Death Guard soldiers, true warriors clad in black Mandalorian Crusader armor, ever vigilant. The intruder, a hermit, crouched in the shadows, closing his eyes to extend his senses through the Force. With this heightened perception, he could easily locate the positions of the Death Guard soldiers. Moving with caution, he navigated along the palace's outer wall, eventually entering through an air vent. He skillfully avoided all surveillance and guards, guided by his memory towards the bedroom of Grand Duchess Satine Kryze. His familiarity with the palace dated back to the Mandalorian Civil War, 24 years prior, when he had fought alongside Grand Duchess Satine. During that tumultuous time, forbidden feelings had blossomed between some of the Jedi Knights and her. Reflecting on this, a wave of sadness momentarily washed over him, but his resolve quickly hardened, and he continued his stealthy advance. Upon reaching the bedroom, he discovered it empty and seemingly uninhabited for some time. A sense of foreboding gripped him. Quietly, he opened a communication channel to Jango Fett, who was also incognito among the Death Guard within the palace. I haven't located Satine. The palace is riddled with secret sentries and surveillance. Do you have a way to bypass them? He inquired. I can plant a bomb in the surveillance room, Jango Fett offered. But remember, we need to keep our operations stealthy. Before the explosion, try to find Satine's location on the monitors. The hermit couldn't help but smirk. Let's hope their cameras are high definition then, he quipped before Jango ended the communication. Standing on the outer wall, over 100 meters above the ground, the hermit wrapped his gray cloak tighter around himself against the biting night wind. Suddenly, Jango's voice crackled through the communicator, urgency clear in his tone. Underground prison! Hurry! I'll cover you! Before he could respond, an explosion rocked a corner of the palace. Seizing the moment, the hermit ignited his lightsaber and sliced through the palace wall, charging into the fray. The guards that attempted to intercept him were quickly brushed aside with the Force, their minds clouded by brainwashing. From another direction, 3 Death Guard soldiers in black armor approached rapidly, their jetpacks roaring. They launched missiles, which the hermit deflected with a powerful Force push, causing them to explode harmlessly behind him. He then surged forward, his lightsaber clashing against their armor in a shower of sparks. Despite their defenses, he used the Force to disrupt their jetpacks, sending them spiraling. Taking advantage of the chaos, he leaped towards the palace's atrium and descended towards the underground prison. This section of the palace held political prisoners and was now his target. As he advanced, more than 10 Death Guard fighters converged on him. These were the most formidable warriors, clad in Mandalorian Crusader armor, forged to withstand even the fiercest attacks. Crafted from Beskar steel, which even a lightsaber cannot penetrate, a mere dozen of these warriors could pose a lethal threat to the Jedi Knights. The hermit wielded his lightsaber like an impenetrable barrier, deflecting all the energy blasts fired by the Death Guard, yet he found his progress halted. Suddenly, a missile streaked from an angle, striking a Death Guard soldier with a thunderous explosion and sending him flying. Jango Fett, with his jetpack activated, soared through the air at high speed, his marksmanship unparalleled. Even amidst the chaos, he managed to exploit the vulnerabilities in the Death Guard's armor, taking down one soldier after another with precise shots. Jango Fett, renowned as the galaxy's most formidable mercenary, had once slain numerous Jedi Knights with nothing but a blaster pistol during the Battle of Geonosis, including Coleman Trebor, a member of the Jedi Council. His miraculous accuracy allowed him to target spots that Jedi Knights would struggle to defend, even with foresight. Leave this to me. Go rescue Satine as quickly as you can, Jango Fett declared. Take care. The hermit responded with a nod. Heh, these novices can't harm me, Jango Fett scoffed, accelerating his jetpack with a burst of speed. He fired a precise shot at another Death Guard soldier's jetpack, triggering an immediate and violent explosion. The hermit dashed forward, entering a narrow yet orderly and clean underground prison. The cells, furnished neatly on both sides, held high-ranking officials of the new Mandalorian regime. Among them was a blonde, middle-aged woman with a distinguished yet weary appearance. Grand Duchess Satine Kryze, bound to a device resembling an electric chair by several Death Guard soldiers. Jango Fett's urgency became clear. Whatever the Death Guard intended for Satine Kryze could spell disaster for Mandalore. Despite his disassociation and opposition to the new Mandalorian regime, especially its leader, Grand Duchess Satine, Jango Fett, once a leader among the true Mandalorians, could not stand idly by as Mandalore faced peril from the Death Guard. As the hermit approached, the Death Guard turned and opened fire. Among them, the hermit recognized the leader, Pre Vizsla, the governor of Concordia, a satellite of Mandalore, and a significant local official. Vizsla, like his companions, donned black Mandalorian Crusader armor, though he was without a helmet, revealing his allegiance to the Death Guard. This suggested that Concordia itself might have become a stronghold for the Death Guard. "Kill him," Pre Vizsla commanded. Upon noticing the hermit, Satine Kryze's eyes sparkled with hope. "You're here, Obi," she began, but the hermit swiftly silenced her with a gesture, using the Force to prevent her from speaking further. Then, with a swift motion of his lightsaber, the hermit aimed a strike at Vizsla's head. Vizsla, unprotected by a helmet, dared not meet the blade head-on and dodged with agility. Seizing the moment, the hermit scooped Satine Kryze into his arms and made a swift escape. Please remember the original domain name of this book. Vol 2, Chapter 1342, A Corner of Conspiracy. He caught the Grand Duke. Chase him! Several Death Guard soldiers immediately activated their jetpacks, pursuing their target with fervor. Despite their relentless shooting, the hermit dodged each attack with remarkable agility. Stop it! Don't shoot at Satine! Xiao von Vizsla bellowed from behind. Confused, the Death Guard fighters ceased fire, uncertain whether to continue the chase or halt. Meanwhile, the hermit had already taken Satine outside. In the palace atrium, Jango Fett and a dozen Death Guard fighters were engaged in a tense standoff. Given that Mandalorian armor is forged from Beskar steel, a material capable of withstanding lightsaber strikes, the battle was at a stalemate, with neither side able to penetrate the other's defenses. Upon seeing the hermit fleeing with Satine in his arms, Jango Fett didn't hesitate to press a detonator. A loud explosion followed, blowing up a wall and sending a shockwave throughout the atrium. The blast caused various bombs to detonate, and the massive chandelier crashed down amidst the chaos. Seizing the moment, Jango Fett fired a grappling hook from his wrist, securing the hermit and Satine. "The wall is yours," he shouted. The hermit, using the force, controlled his lightsaber to slice through the wall, allowing them to escape the palace's confines. Back in the underground prison, Xiao von Vizsla's expression was dark. He berated the Death Guard. Just 2 individuals managed to infiltrate the palace and abduct Grand Duke Satine. Where is your spirit, Dalo? Where is your honor? Don't worry, boss. They won't get far, one Death Guard reassured him. We've sealed off the city and will commence a thorough search. They will be captured. A traitor, undoubtedly a Jedi Knight, and a Death Guard. Something's amiss. Find out who that traitor is. Xiao von Vizsla commanded. Also, we're short-staffed. Get some security police to assist in the search. In a nondescript house in Sandari City, the hermit gently set Satine Kryze down and untied her hands. Obi-Wan Kenobi, you finally come, Satine exclaimed, her voice tinged with excitement. The situation is dire. We must inform the Galactic Republic immediately. However, the hermit remained stoic. Firstly, Obi-Wan Kenobi is no more. The person before you is simply a hermit. Secondly, we won't be contacting the Galactic Republic. Currently, I'm aligned with the Confederacy of Independent Systems. Even if we wanted to, it's impossible. In newly established cities like Sandari, the outer black shields are impenetrable. Once the jamming device is connected to the shields, all forms of communication are blocked, Jango Fett explained, adjusting his armor. No, you are Obi-Wan. My instincts are never wrong. And, have you also turned traitor? Satine's face drained of color. Tell me what's happening on Mandalore, the hermit demanded, his tone icy. No, you must first explain your actions. I need to know if I'm speaking to a noble Jedi or a despicable separatist traitor. Satine retorted, her anger palpable. Keep your voice down, or the Death Guard will surely find us, the hermit warned. And remember, I've lost my lightsaber, and we're low on equipment. The next step requires caution. We cannot escape the battle, said the hermit. So you're telling me I sought help from a separatist? Satine asked, her tone icy. The current stance of Mandalorian neutrality will only make enemies on both sides of this war. The first issue you need to address is not the difference between separatism or not, but how to reclaim your planet, the hermit explained. From what I understand, whether it's the Galactic Republic, separatism, or neutralism, any of these options is infinitely better than having the Death Guards rule Mandalore. Jango Fett added in a deep voice, the Death Guards are nothing more than a band of gangsters. You know this better than anyone. You are Jango Fett, the true leader of the Mandalorians. I recognize your voice, Satine said, turning to face Jango Fett. The real Mandalorians no longer exist, and I am no longer one of them, Jango Fett replied, shaking his head as he continued to repair his armor, paying no further attention to Satine. It was then that Satine Kryze addressed the hermit with a grave expression. A week ago, the Death Guard launched a terrorist attack in Sandari City and several other cities nearby, resulting in dozens of casualties. Our soldiers couldn't stand against the Death Guard and fled after several attempts to pursue them. Later, Governor Pre Vizsla of Concordia came to me unexpectedly. He mentioned that the Death Guard's greatest strength lies in their armor, but it is also their weakness. She glanced at Jango Fett's armor and continued. Governor Vizsla then told me about a system that could be installed in the city to detect the Death Guard from a distance, allowing us to prepare in advance. I tasked Prime Minister Almec with overseeing this project, and soon after, he reported that the scientific research team had found the system feasible. So we installed it on the city's radio wave transmission tower and constructed a radar station. Her tone became tinged with anger as she spoke. They are all traitors. Both Governor Vizsla and Prime Minister Almec have betrayed Mandalore. After the so-called radar device was built, the signals it emitted took control of everyone in Sandari City, including myself. They've got the whole city under their control, but these people are just repeating their actions from the day before. What in the world are they trying to achieve? Have you encountered a red-skinned Zabrak named Darth Maul? The hermit inquired further. Red-skin? A Zabrak? I'm certain I haven't seen him. After being controlled, I found myself imprisoned upon waking. Governor Vizsla coerced me into declaring a citywide blockade, threatening the lives of the citizens. I agreed, hoping to stabilize the situation first, Satine explained. As for their objective, it seems they've been experimenting with this large-scale brainwashing device, aiming to use it to conduct a referendum. A referendum? On what? The hermit asked, furrowing his brow. A referendum for Mandalore to join the Separatists, Satine revealed. This is utter madness, the hermit exclaimed, shocked by the revelation. Easter Egg Chapter Attachment 1, The Grand Duchess of Mandalore, Satine. Please remember the first domain name of this book. Website, Vol 2, Chapter 1343, Political Games. Satine Critz spoke with a grave expression. No, this is not a jest. The extraordinary Vizsla plans to use this device to conduct a referendum. After achieving a result in the capital city of Sundari, they intend to use it as a precedent to coerce other cities into holding similar referendums. I'm quite certain that Transcendence Vizsla hasn't been in contact with the Separatists, with the Confederation of Independent Systems. It's ludicrous to think they could push Mandalore into joining the Confederation. The Confederation currently has no means of dispatching a fleet to Mandalore. The hermit expressed his skepticism, furrowing his brow. And considering the current state of Sundari's residents, who are practically puppets, how can a legitimate referendum be conducted? What you're observing is merely the surface. This brainwashing device can manipulate a select few into performing very specific actions. In this state, they're akin to sleepwalkers. Maintaining the entire city in such a condition serves not only as a means of control, but apparently as an experiment as well, Satine explained. Peering out the window at the people below, the hermit questioned, but what is their endgame? From what I've seen of the residents' condition, their bodies won't withstand this for more than 3 days. They're repeating the same actions as the day before. There's no need for an endgame. They simply plan to let the people live in a dream. If they manage to brainwash and control me, and I then publicly validate and endorse the referendum, the ordinary citizens will have no means of resistance. Satine's voice turned icy. So, the machine they intend to use on you is designed for brainwashing? Anger tinged the hermit's voice. Exactly. However, the brainwashing machine is far from perfect. They've held me captive for several days, attempting the procedure twice, but it seems they've failed. Each time, I was unconscious during the process and found myself back in my cell upon waking, Satine recounted. Jango Fett, having finished preparing his armor, looked up and interjected. More pressing than this, from what you're suggesting, does Transcendence Vizsla truly intend to hand over Mandalore to the Confederation of Independent Systems? Absolutely not. Both the hermit and Satine Critz responded in unison, then exchanged glances. Satine's lips curled into a slight smile, while the hermit looked away. Jango Fett, spreading his hands, asked skeptically, Then, esteemed stateswoman, enlighten me as to why. The Galactic Republic has Mandalore under close surveillance. Should the referendum's result favor joining the Confederation, the Republic would seize the opportunity to militarily occupy Mandalore, a move they've previously hesitated to make. Satine elucidated. Jango Fett remained skeptical. Given the current state of Mandalore, which under your leadership has been effectively defanged, it would be trivial for the Republic to take control. Satine Kritz, clearly not fond of Jango Fett's tone, replied sharply, "The outcome depends on political maneuvering and the prevailing circumstances. The Mandalorians have waged war against the Galactic Republic for millennia, only to find themselves endangered. Now, let me explain why the Galactic Republic hesitates to occupy Mandalore." Standing tall with the dignity of Mandalore's Duchess, she declared, "The moment the Galactic Republic dares to attack Mandalore, numerous galaxies led by the Neutral Alliance will secede from the Republic. They cannot risk such a consequence. While we may outwardly comply with the Republic, we can leverage this situation to maintain neutrality in the conflict. This is the essence of political power." The hermit, listening intently, found his thoughts drifting to another planet. He sighed softly. "Perhaps your strategy was sound initially, but now this war is engulfing everything. Everything you've done, you won't be able to survive on your own. This attack is the best proof. I'm reminded of someone else whose approach is similar to yours, yet he knows when to draw the line," the hermit explained. "Who are you referring to?" Satine inquired, her tone icy. "Tang Xiao, the governor of Dawn Star," the hermit replied. "I've observed Dawn Star's development closely. They've adeptly navigated the political landscape of the Galactic Republic, creating and exploiting political situations for their benefit. Tang Xiao, in particular, demonstrates remarkable restraint, though he knows precisely when to cease political maneuvering and when to resort to force, avoiding the self-inflicted wounds that politics can often bring." Satine scoffed. "Tang Xiao, I've encountered him in the Parliament and dealt with his predecessor, Francis Underwood. Dawn Planet is barbaric, and Tang Xiao is nothing short of a war criminal and a fickle separatist. How dare you compare me to him? He may be despicable, and by the Republic's standards, deserving of execution multiple times over. However, his foresight is undeniable. While we're embroiled in this war, he's already preparing for its aftermath," the hermit countered. Satine laughed mockingly. "So, you think he's digging his own grave?" Jango Fett, rubbing his temples from the headache the argument was causing, interjected, "Enough, both of you. If you're going to argue, save it for later. Now tell me, what's the real purpose behind this referendum that Extraordinary Vizsla is pushing?" Satine shot the hermit a disdainful look before turning to Jango. "Fine, let me enlighten you on some political machinations. The Galactic Republic seeks any pretext to forcibly annex Mandalore. Proposing this referendum, regardless of its outcome, will give the Republic the justification it needs to dispatch a fleet and take control of Mandalore immediately. And with a referendum in place, the Alliance of Neutrals will hesitate to intervene on Mandalore's behalf." "The Mandalorians will never consent to that," Jango stated firmly. "So, what will the Galactic Republic do? Initiate a second Mandalorian excision?" Satine asked coldly. "No, the Galactic Republic wouldn't dare undertake such a risky operation during the war. They'd prefer to let Mandalorians handle their internal affairs as much as possible," she explained. "Extraordinary Vizsla?" Jango inquired. "Exactly. Extraordinary Vizsla will emerge to assist the Galactic Republic in resolving the Mandalorian dispute once more, and in doing so, he'll logically remove me from power. With the Republic's backing, he'll ascend as the new Grand Duke of Mandalore, enjoying their full support," Satine revealed. "I'm increasingly convinced he has allies within the Galactic Republic, especially in the Parliament, aiding his cause, if things proceed as planned. But for Extraordinary Vizsla, the situation remains unchanged. He'll still be a mere puppet of the Galactic Republic. The ambitions of the Death Watch extend far beyond that," Jango argued. "Unless he's aware that the Galactic Republic is on the brink of collapse," the hermit suddenly exclaimed, catching both Satine and Jango off guard. "Please remember the first domain name of this book, website, Vol 2, Chapter 1344, New Home. The Galactic Republic will be destroyed in the near future? Is this why you betrayed the Republic? Have you lost your mind, Obi-Wan?" Satine Kryze exclaimed in disbelief. "The Galactic Republic will be reorganized into the Galactic Empire," the hermit, known to some as Obi-Wan, explained as he stood and peered cautiously through a corner of the curtain to survey the situation outside. So, when the Empire is first established, the galaxy will undoubtedly be engulfed in uprisings and riots. In the midst of this chaos, the sudden and seemingly inadvertent independence of the planet Mandalore will attract less attention. Satine Kryze pondered his words for a moment. Instead of directly opposing him, she said, "Regardless, I must go to Coruscant in person. I have to inform the Galactic Republic about Pre-Vizsla's conspiracy. They must not be deceived." Obi-Wan shook his head, a grave expression on his face. "You don't understand. It's impossible for Pre-Vizsla to be unaware of the impending collapse of the Galactic Republic. However, all his plans hinge on the Republic's fall and the establishment of the Galactic Empire to reap the greatest benefits. This means there's a highly influential manipulator working behind the scenes. The most urgent task is to thwart his plot. It doesn't matter who is behind him. We must first save Mandalore." Satine declared, "Send me out first. I will immediately mobilize the defense forces from other cities to come to Sundari City to assist you. Then I will head to Coruscant to address the Galactic Council." "I'm afraid it's not that simple. The entire city's population is effectively held hostage by Pre-Vizsla. While Vizsla himself, still active in politics, may hesitate to act, the person pulling the strings behind him likely won't have such reservations," Obi-Wan cautioned. "First and foremost, we need to address the issue of brainwave control plaguing the city." "Just the three of us?" Satine frowned in concern. "No, 4, Obi-Wan corrected, holding up 4 fingers. "Who else?" Satine asked, her expression turning serious. "Vitali Olov, your former advisor," Obi-Wan revealed. "Indeed, he vanished under mysterious circumstances. Given that he is the younger brother of the notorious arms dealer Yuri Olov, I too was investigating this angle. However, before I could uncover anything, I was taken captive. Firstly, he is not dead. I sense it through the Force. Secondly, his disappearance might be linked to possessing crucial information. It's possible that the reason for the widespread brainwashing devices across the city is partly an effort to locate him," Obi-Wan speculated. "We must find him, and quickly." In the southwest of the Milky Way, within the Central Star District, lies the fourth civilization-controlled area, the Haven Star District, and the planet Karl. This planet boasts breathtaking scenery, with its surface predominantly covered by a vast ocean, leaving less than 20% as land, mostly in the form of archipelagos. Karl has a breathable atmosphere, standard gravity, a rich ecosystem, and a tropical climate, making it an idyllic location. Once a remote colony of the Rakata and part of the Infinite Empire, Karl was abandoned when the Empire collapsed. It wasn't until several decades before the current conflict that Karl came under the jurisdiction of the Galactic Republic. During this time, the planet saw an increase in immigration, and high-end hotels, casinos, and resort centers were established, transforming Karl into a coveted tourist destination. However, this prosperity was short-lived. With the swift rise of the Dawn Star in the southwest, Karl began to feel the pressure. Following the outbreak of war, the Dawn Star first seized the planet Bespin. In the subsequent counterattack by the Galactic Republic, the main fleet of the Republic's 19th Army was nearly decimated. After this defeat, Suramar, the governor of the 19th Army at the time, initiated the construction of a large Karl planet had been transformed into a fortress planet to counter the offensive from Dawn Planet. It was equipped with numerous factories, an expanded spaceport, and an armed space station. Despite these efforts, Dawn Planet swiftly captured Karl, though it remained a beautiful place, albeit with many industrial elements. Following the destruction of the 19th and 18th Armies of the Galactic Republic and the blockade of the 20th Army by the Givings in the Yago-Dur galaxy, Karl's strategic importance diminished. Lacking precious resources, it eventually became a resort destination. Among the Fourth Civilization's residents, those who could afford it preferred visiting planets with pristine ecological landscapes, such as Karl and Saria. The more adventurous ones ventured to Terminus to gamble in the casinos operated by the Hutts. "So, this planet is like this," Tang Xiao explained, gesturing towards the blue ocean and the remains of a Jaeger-class battlecruiser on the shore. The juxtaposition of natural beauty and the wreckage created a unique vista. "It's a remarkable planet. What's the permanent population?" A deep, hoarse voice responded, sounding as though it emanated directly from the speaker's nose. 4.5 million, all human immigrants from other planets. Whether you choose to expel them or welcome them is your decision. Tang Xiao turned to address the figure behind him, High Priest Shadiforce. The individual known as High Priest Shadili was of a completely alien race. His skin was rough and tough, with a dull coloration and no hair. The back of his head was enlarged, covered with a thin layer of horn-like material. His face, devoid of any typical features except for a pair of glowing pupilless eyes, appeared quite menacing. Additionally, his legs were structured with reverse joints, giving him a distinctive gait. Although his physique bore some resemblance to the Protoss, he was leaner, and his limbs were more slender and fragile. In a physical confrontation, any Protoss could easily overpower him, yet the Vasari, the race to which he belonged, had once forged a civilization as grand as the Protoss at their zenith, dominating their entire river system. The Vasari were a mysterious, formidable, and proud species from original sin of a solar empire. Only a being of such stature warranted a personal visit from Tang Xiao. Easter egg chapter attached picture 1, the Vasari people. Please remember the first domain name of this book. Website.